Welcome back guys. Now let's have a rapid revision on the central nervous system. Now first I will be discussing about the sensory nervous system. Okay, first I will be discussing about sensory nervous system. In the sensory nervous system, look, first let me discuss about the spinal cord. Okay, this is the cross section of the spinal cord. Look here, these horns which I am showing you, okay, in the cross section of the spinal cord, you know, in the central gray matter is present. In the center there is gray matter. Now this central gray matter which is in the H shape, okay, this is central gray matter which I am highlighting here, okay, it is having two horns. So these horns which I am highlighting right now, these horns which are on the posterior side, they are called as dorsal horns. They are called as what? Dorsal horns, which are sensory in nature. They receive all the sensations from your body: touch, pain, temperature. Okay, someone is coming and touching here, touch, pain, temperature, pressure, whatnot. All the sensations, they will go into the back side of the spinal cord. They will go to the dorsal horns of the spinal cord. Okay, the information is going to the dorsal side of the spinal cord. That's why these dorsal horns are sensory. Okay, and these horns which I am highlighting right now in the blue color, okay, these horns which I have highlighted anteriorly, okay, those horns which are there anteriorly, they are called as ventral horns. Now these ventral horns, they are motor in nature, because from here, okay, from these ventral horns, okay, from these ventral horns, look carefully who is starting. Okay, let's say from these ventral horns, the neurons are coming out. Let's say this is a one neuron, this is a cell body of one neuron. This neuron is coming out, and what is it doing? Is it going? It's going to the, okay, it's going to the muscles and cause the contraction of the muscles. So these are efferents. These are efferent neurons. Okay, these are efferents. Okay, so these are nothing but the motor neurons. Okay, these are efferents which are coming out. These are the motor neurons which causes the muscle contraction. So whenever the muscle is contracted, that will cause the movements. So now tell me, from these ventral horns, okay, from these anterior horns, which neurons are coming out? Motor neurons are coming out. Okay, motor neurons are coming out. That's why this is called as these horns, the ventral horns are called as a motor horns. Okay, that's why the ventral horns are called as what? Motor horns. Okay, now in a disease, okay, in a disease, this area, okay, these horns are damaged. Okay, in this condition, these horns are damaged. There is this one condition where these horns are damaged. So now tell me what the patient is going to suffer with. The patient is going to suffer with sensory losses, or the patient is going to suffer with the motor losses. You tell me. So if ventral horns are damaged, okay, ventral horns are damaged, the patient is going to have paralysis. Okay, paralysis. Seen in which condition? Polio. Okay, in a condition called as polio, this area, the ventral horns will be damaged, because the polio virus is going to cause the damage to the ventral horns, which is going to cause the paralysis, motor paralysis. Okay, ipsilateral paralysis is going to be seen. Next, this law which is telling you this dorsal horns are sensory and ventral horns are motor. Dorsal horns are sensory and ventral horns are motor. Not only that, here what you will be having, the dorsal roots will be there. Okay, dorsal roots through which the neurons enters into the dorsal horns. Okay, there will be dorsal roots. In the anterior side there will be ventral roots. Okay, dorsal roots, ventral roots. Okay, so these roots are also dorsal roots. Dorsal roots will be there through which the neurons enters into the spinal cord. Okay, and here anteriorly you will be having ventral roots. Okay, from here there are ventral roots, dorsal root, ventral roots. See, these roots are also, dorsal roots are sensory, no doubt, ventral roots are motor. Ventral roots are motor in nature. So this law is called as, okay, dorsal roots are sensory, ventral roots are motor. This law is called as Bell-Megendy's law. So what exactly Bell-Megendy's law tells you? Dorsal roots are sensory and ventral roots are motor, which means they contain sensory neurons and motor neurons. Dorsal root contains the sensory neurons and ventral roots contains the motor neurons. That's called as the Bell-Megendi's law, which is important for your exam. Next, after this, let's discuss about sensations one by one. Okay, first touch sensation. Okay, see, now for the detection of touch, okay, if someone comes and touches you, you will feel that touch, right? Okay, there are different types of touch. Okay, now to detect this touch, you need to have the touch receptors. Okay, you need to have the touch receptors. So what are the different touch receptors? Okay, for the touch sensation, you require touch receptors. What are the 4 important types of touch receptors? They includes Meissner's corpuscles, okay, Meissner's corpuscles, Merkel cells, Pacinian corpuscles, and Ruffini's endings. So these are the 4 different types of touch receptors which are present in the skin. These are the 4 different types of touch receptors. Now look at the Meissner's corpuscles. See, these Meissner's corpuscles important. They are mainly present on the lips and fingertips. Okay, in the skinless, I should say the hairless areas. Okay, the hairless areas of the skin. Okay, so it's the lips and fingertips. Okay, lips and fingertips. These Meissner corpuscles are going to detect, okay, low frequency vibrations. Okay, low frequency vibrations. Not only that, they are also going to detect gentle touch, okay, gentle tapping. Okay, they will detect this form of touch, gentle touch. Okay, next, Merkel cells. These Merkel cells, they are going to be helpful for you to identify the edges and corners. And not only that, they will help you, especially for the blind persons, they will help in understanding the script that's called the Braille script. So which receptors or which touch receptors are helping in identifying the Braille script, for reading the Braille script, that is Merkel cells. Okay, so these Merkel cells are sensitive to edges and corners, and it will help in identifying or reading the Braille script. Pacinian corpuscles. Okay, Pacinian corpuscles. Now these Pacinian corpuscles, out of all the touch receptors, these are the largest, and they are capsulated. Okay, they are largest capsulated. They are present deep in the skin. Okay, so they will detect which form of touch? They are going to detect deep touch. Okay, deep touch, high frequency vibrations. High frequency vibrations. Okay, high frequency vibrations, deep touch, and pressure. Okay, these are the points, these are the important points which I want you to know for your exam. Okay, these are the 4 different types of touch receptors. MMRP, you can remember MMRP, the mnemonic is MMRP. Okay, the Meissner's, Merkel's, Ruffini's, and Pacinian corpuscles are 4 important types of touch receptors for your exam. Okay, this Ruffini's endings is going to be sensitive for the skin stretch. It's going to be sensitive for the skin stretch, but for exam I don't want you to go into that area. See, out of all this Meissner corpuscles and Pacinian corpuscles, they are rapidly adapting, they are fast adapting receptors. Okay, they are fast adapting receptors, means they will undergo receptor adaptation, means continuously when you stimulate these receptors. Okay, when you continuously stimulate these receptors, they will no longer produce the action potential, they will become desensitized. Okay, so fast adapting. So Pacinian corpuscles are also fast adapting. These Merkel cells and Ruffini sending, they are slow adapting. Slow adapting receptors. Okay, so with this, these are some important points I want you to know regarding the touch. See, now someone comes and touches your skin. Okay, someone comes and touches your skin. Now, are you able to feel that or not? Yes, you are able to feel that. So there should be some fiber. Okay, there should be some fiber which is attached to the receptor. Okay, for example, let's say here is the Meissner's corpuscles. Okay, here is the Meissner's corpuscle. Now, when someone comes and touches this Meissner's corpuscles, now these receptors detect the touch. Now, these receptors, they have to convert. Okay, they have to convert these information, mechanical information, into electrical impulses. So when someone comes and touches here, the receptor is activated, this mechanical energy will be converted into the electrical impulses. Now from here, this information is going into the central nervous system. From here, these neurons, there are certain neurons which are taking this information into the central nervous system. So what are those neurons called as? Which neurons takes this information about the touch? So touch is carried by, so this neuron which is taking the information to the central nervous system. These neurons are A beta fibers. So A beta fibers MCQ. A beta fibers, they carry touch sensation. Okay, A beta fibers carry touch sensation. Okay. Next, after this, what else I want you to know? Look, these A beta fibers, they are not only activated, okay, with just touch, non-painful stimulus. Okay, non-painful stimulus. For example, massaging. Okay, hot packs or cold packs. See, these non-painful stimulus, skin rubbing, okay, massaging, cold packs or hot packs. When you do these things, they are also going to activate, okay, they are also going to activate the A beta fiber. Okay, A beta fiber will be again activated. Now when this A beta fiber is activated, look what it will do is, these A beta fibers at the level of spinal cord, see in the spinal cord, they will activate inhibitory interneurons. So in the spinal cord, these inhibitory interneurons are going to inhibit, they will inhibit the second order neurons. Okay, the second order neurons which are carrying the pain. Okay, the second order neurons which are carrying the pain will be inhibited. So what I am trying to put here is, this is called as a gate control theory. Gate control theory. See, what exactly is the gate control theory? Gate control theory means, I hope you have already studied, when you are having, for example, when you are having a pain in this particular area, we can decrease the intensity of the pain. Okay, we can modulate the pain. Okay, we can modulate the pain signals at the level of spinal cord itself by doing the non-painful stimulus. By giving the non-painful stimulus, you can activate the A beta fibers. Now these A beta fibers, what they will do? They will go into the spinal cord and they will activate inhibitory interneurons. So these inhibitory interneurons, what they are doing? They are inhibiting the second order neurons which are carrying the pain pathways. Okay, so the second order neurons which carries the pain signals will be inhibited. So you will feel less pain, you will feel relaxed. Okay, so this is called as gate control theory. So according to gate control theory, this non-painful stimulus is activating the A beta fibers. A beta fibers activate inhibitory interneurons. Inhibitory interneurons inhibit second order neurons. Okay, second order neurons. So the pain is getting modulated. The pain signals are modulated at the level of spinal cord. Okay, at the level of spinal cord means this is happening in the spinal cord. The second order neurons are getting inhibited with the help of inhibitory interneurons in the spinal cord. This is called as gate control theory. Now after this gate control theory, what else I want you to know is the somatosensory pathways for your exam. Okay, ascending tracts, ascending tracts. Now how many ascending tracts are there? Very easy, let's make it as simple as possible. How many ascending tracts are there? There are two types of ascending tracts. Let's say two types mainly. Okay, what are they? First one is spinothalamic tracts. Spinothalamic tracts, okay, and dorsal column tracts. Okay, spinothalamic tracts and dorsal column tracts. See, the spinothalamic tracts are of further two types. Okay, they are further two types. What are they? They are anterior spinothalamic, okay, anterior spinothalamic and lateral spinothalamic, anterior spinothalamic and lateral spinothalamic. Now, this anterior spinothalamic, they will ask you, see, this from the spinal cord to thalamus, the information is going from the spinal cord to the thalamus, the information is going up to the brain. So, spinothalamic. Now, you tell me, the anterior spinothalamic tract is going to carry which sensations? They are going to carry crude touch, okay, crude touch as well as pressure. Okay, so if someone asks you, that the crude touch and pressure information is going through the anterior spinothalamic tract and the lateral spinothalamic tract, because the lateral spinothalamic tract is going to carry pain and temperature. So in your exam, they might ask you a question something like this: if there is a damage to the left lateral spinothalamic tract, okay, left lateral spinothalamic tract, you know, if lateral spinothalamic tract is damaged, means the pain and temperature is going to be lost. But what is this left lateral? What is this left and right? See, these tracts, spinothalamic tracts, they cross to opposite side. Okay, they cross to opposite side at the level of spinal cord itself. In the spinal cord itself, the sensations from the right side of the body is going to cross to the left side, and the sensations from the right side of the body is going to come to left and left to right. So there is this crossing that is happening. Okay, so these primitive sensations, okay, these primitive sensations like touch, pressure, pain and temperature, these sensations will cross to the contralateral side. Okay, so now you tell me, damage to the left side, lateral spinothalamic tract is going to cause the loss of pain and temperature on the right side of the body. Okay, so just make yourself clear about it. Okay, so they cross to the opposite side in the spinal cord itself, Now this dorsal column tracts. See, dorsal column tracts, there are two types of dorsal column tracts. Okay, one is fasciculus gracilis. Okay, fasciculus gracilis, fasciculus cuneatus. Okay, fasciculus gracilis as well as fasciculus cuneatus. Now, look, the fasciculus gracilis is going to carry what? Touch, pain, temperature, pressure. See, these are dorsal column tracts. Now itself I am telling you, these dorsal column tracts, they are highly advanced. Okay, they are highly myelinated. Okay, they are highly advanced, they are highly myelinated, so they are fast conducting. So now they are not going to carry just touch, pain, temperature, but they are going to carry a little bit advanced sensations, not the primitive sensations, you know, just general touch, pain, temperature. Okay, these are the primitive sensations. Okay, let me write here, all these fellows are primitive sensations. Okay, these sensations are the primitive sensations. Now, these fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, what are they carrying from the body? Okay, what are they carrying from the body? They carry the advanced sensations. Okay, so dorsal column tracts, I can say the dorsal column tracts carry advanced sensations, which are like, you know, now let me write the examples here. So this fasciculus gracilis, it carries advanced sensations from the lower part of the body. Okay, from the lower parts of the body. Fasciculus cuneatus is going to carry advanced sensations from upper part of the body. Okay, from the upper parts of the body, thorax and upper limbs, right? So now again tell me, fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, they are the dorsal column tracts, they carry the advanced sensations. Fasciculus gracilis carry advanced sensations from the lower part of the body, and fasciculus cuneatus carry advanced sensations from the upper part of the body. Now, I'm telling advanced sensations. What exactly are these advanced sensations? What exactly are they? Touch, pain, temperature, pressure? No, they are primitive sensations. Vision, olfaction, taste. Are they advanced sensations? No, they are special sensations. Okay, vision, olfaction, like taste, hearing, balance. These are special sensations, but not advanced sensations. What are advanced sensations there? Now, let me give you the list here. The advanced sensations. They include fine touch, vibration, proprioception, two-point discrimination, okay, two-point discrimination, and stereognosis. So these sensations, stereognosis means ability to identify the object. Even with the closed eyes, your ability to identify the object, that is called as stereognosis, advanced sensation. Now, two-point discrimination. Okay, two-point discrimination means even in a little distance. Okay, for example, let's say here is your finger. Okay, let's say here is your finger. Now I am touching this area and I am touching this area, two areas in a nearby. For example, this area and this area. Your sensations are so much developed. Okay, our sensations are so much developed. Even if you touch this area in a very little distance, you are touching two different points A and B. The distance between these 2 points is very little. You can still, okay, your receptors are so well developed. The Meissner's corpuscles which are there, they will detect. Okay, this is a separate point, this is a separate point, which means you can feel that I am touching on two different areas. You won't feel it like a single point, you won't feel it like a single point, you will feel it like these are two different points. Okay, two-point discrimination, because here highest concentration of receptors will be there. The more the number of receptors, highest concentration, highest density of the receptors will be there. So we can localize the things. Okay, that's a two-point discrimination, ability to discriminate between two individual points as separate points. Okay, so that's a two-point discrimination. Proprioception, vibration, fine touch, you know them. They are all the advanced sensations. The advanced sensations are carried by the dorsal column tracts, which includes the fasciculus gracilis as well as the fasciculus cuneatus. Now, let me show you the positions of these tracts in the cross section of the spinal cord. Now, look here. Now, here I am showing you the cross section of the spinal cord. You know, these are the dorsal horns as well as the ventral horns. Right? Now, look here. See, this area which I am highlighting. Okay, this area which I am highlighting, these are what? These are the dorsal horn, dorsal column. That's the dorsal column, right? So now you tell me, in this area, which sensations are going? Advanced sensations are going in this part of the spinal cord. In this part of the spinal cord, advanced sensations are going. Through which tracts? Fasciculus gracilis as well as fasciculus cuneatus. Now look carefully, this area which I am highlighting. So this part which I am highlighting. Okay. Now, this blue color area is nothing but the fasciculus gracilis. Fasciculus gracilis from the right side of the body as well as the left side of the body. They carry what? They carry the advanced sensation from the lower part of the body. Okay. Now, this area which I am highlighting now, look carefully. In this area, who will be there? In this area, there are these tracts are different tracts. These are fasciculus cuneatus. Okay, if you have fasciculus cuneatus, they carry the advanced sensations from the upper parts of the body. Okay, advanced sensations from the upper parts of the body. So now you tell me, fasciculus gracilis is located more medially. It's present more medially. Okay, and fasciculus cuneatus, it's present more laterally. Okay, of course, you are having two fasciculus gracilis and two fasciculus cuneatus from both the sides of the body. Okay, now important points about these tracts. Okay, these advanced tracts. Okay, these dorsal column tracts which are carrying the advanced sensations. They do not cross, means advanced sensations from the right side of the body are going on the right side of the spinal cord. The advanced sensations from the left side of the body is going on the left side of the spinal cord. These are not crossing, they are not crossing to the contralateral side. So let me write the dorsal column tract, they are highly advanced, they do not cross to contralateral side. They do not cross to the contralateral side, they travel ipsilaterally. Okay, they travel ipsilaterally. Okay, so these are the dorsal column tracts. Now, after this, now in this area, which this is the anterior column, this is the anterior side of the spinal cord, anterior column of the spinal cord. So what is this tract which is present in the anterior column of the spinal cord? Okay, it is going in the anterior column. So what is the name of this tract? Okay, what is the name of this tract? This is anterior spinothalamic. Okay, anterior spinothalamic. So anterior spinothalamic completed. Next, here this is lateral spinothalamic. Okay, here is the lateral spinothalamic. So these are the ascending tracts. So this lateral spinothalamic is going to carry pain and temperature, and anterior spinothalamic is going to carry crude touch and pressure. Okay, crude touch and pressure. So these are the different areas of the spinal cord. Okay, and different ascending tracts. Now you tell me if there is damage to the dorsal column. Okay, for example, let's say they gave this image in your exam. Okay, they gave this image in your exam. They have shown this part of the spinal cord is damaged. Okay, this part of the spinal cord is damaged in a person. Okay, because of some injury, because of some bullet injury, or because of some fracture, the fractured part is going to get penetrating into this part of the spinal cord. Okay, fractured vertebrae is penetrating into this part of the spinal cord. Now you tell me, okay, this is the right side, this is the left side. Okay, anatomical wise, you are just looking from the anterior side. So this part of the spinal cord is damaged. So right side, lateral aspect, right lateral aspect is damaged. Okay, right lateral aspect of dorsal column is damaged. Now tell me which sensations will be lost? Advanced sensations. Advanced sensations will be lost. From where? From upper part of the body. Okay, from upper part of the body, from upper limbs, you will lose the advanced sensations. What are the advanced sensations? I gave the list: fine touch, vibration, proprioception, 2-point discrimination, and stereognosis. These are the advanced sensations that are going to be lost. Now, having said the basic concepts, now look carefully. Okay, guys, now I am showing you the cross section of the spinal cord. This will be a definite question in your exams. What if the half of the spinal cord is damaged? Okay, if your half of the spinal cord is damaged, okay, let's say half of the spinal cord is damaged. Now tell me which tracts will be damaged. Definitely there will be loss of dorsal column tracts. The dorsal column tracts are damaged, and anterior spinothalamic tract which is present in this area will be damaged, and the lateral spinothalamic tract which is present in this part of the spinal cord will be also be damaged. So now this hemisection of the spinal cord means half of the spinal cord is damaged because of any reason, some reason half of the spinal cord is damaged. So this hemisection of spinal cord is called as hemisection of spinal cord. Is called as Brown-Séquard syndrome. Okay, Brown-Séquard syndrome. Now in the Brown-Séquard syndrome, tell me dorsal column tracts are damaged. Dorsal column tracts. The dorsal column tracts are damaged. Due to the damage to the dorsal column tracts, advanced sensations are lost. On which side of the body? Advanced sensations are lost on same side. Okay, advanced sensations are lost on the same side. Okay, and what about the anterolateral tracts, anterior spinothalamic tract and lateral spinothalamic tract? I am just combining and writing here: anterolateral spinothalamic tracts, anterolateral spinothalamic tracts. What happened? The anterolateral spinothalamic tracts are also damaged. Okay, both anterior spinothalamic and lateral spinothalamic tracts are also damaged. So there will be loss of primitive sensations. Primitive sensation lost on contralateral side of the body, on the opposite side of the body. This is the right side. Now this is the left side. Now tell me, on the right side, in this person the lesion is on the right side, in this person the lesion is on right side. So this person on his right side he is going to lose the advanced sensations, on his left side he is going to lose the primitive sensations below the level of lesion. Below the level of lesion, for example, imagine the level of lesion, this is the place where the half of the spinal cord is damaged in this particular segment. So below the level of lesion, okay, below the level of lesion, the person is going to lose the advanced sensations in this side of the body, right side of the body, and in the opposite side the patient is going to lose the primitive sensations like touch, pain, temperature and pressure. This syndrome is called as Brown-Séquard syndrome. Ipsilateral advanced sensation lost, contralateral primitive sensation lost. Okay, so this is Brown-Séquard syndrome. Okay, now after knowing some points about the Brown-Séquard syndrome, now let me discuss one more condition. Okay, one more condition. In this condition, look, if this is the spinal cord, this area is completely damaged. Okay, this part of the spinal cord is damaged. So what is this? Dorsal column. Dorsal column is damaged. So if the dorsal column is going to be damaged, that's going to cause a condition called as tabes dorsalis. Okay, tabes dorsalis. Now in this tabes dorsalis, okay, this tabes dorsalis, dorsal column is going to be damaged, so that the patient is going to lose advanced sensations like proprioception. Okay, so that's why there will be gait abnormalities in this patient. So this, if you look at their gait, they will be having stomping gait. Okay, these patients will be having stomping gait. Usually this tabes dorsalis is the damage to the dorsal column. It is seen with syphilis. It is seen with which condition? Syphilis, tertiary syphilis. Okay, sexually transmitted disease, tertiary syphilis is the neurosyphilis in which the dorsal column of the spinal cord is going to be damaged. Okay, next, one more condition. Look guys, here is the spinal cord. Now you have to tell me what exactly is happening. See, in the center of the spinal cord, there is development of a big cavity. So this part of the spinal cord is damaging. Okay, there is a development of a cavity in the center of the spinal cord. In the center of the spinal cord, there is this cavity present. Means a degenerative cavity. This area of the spinal cord is getting degenerated. Okay, let me write here something like this. Okay, this part of the spinal cord is damaged. Okay, so now tell me, this condition is called as a syringomelia. Syrinx means cavity and melia means the spinal cord. So syringomelia is a cavity within the spinal cord. Okay, cavity development within the spinal cord, that's called as a syringomelia. Now you tell me, if there is a syringomelia to a patient, okay, if a patient is having syringomelia, so what happens? Now look, you know this is the first order neuron which is carrying the pain sensations, let's say. Okay, first order neuron which is carrying the primitive sensation like touch, pain, temperature, pressure. Primitive sensation. Primitive sensation. It's carrying the primitive sensations like, you know, touch, pain, temperature and pressure. Now there is this one more neuron which is carrying the advanced sensation. Look, this is the neuron which is carrying the advanced sensation. The neuron which is carrying the advanced sensation is directly going into the dorsal column. Okay, it's directly going into where? Dorsal column. Okay, but this neuron, look, the neuron which is carrying the primitive sensation, it is terminated in the dorsal horn. Now from here, who is starting? From here, the second order neurons are starting. The second order neurons crosses to the opposite side. Now you know they will cross to the opposite side. Okay, they cross to opposite side and they ascend up. Now you tell me which neurons are crossing. Those neurons which are carrying the primitive sensations are crossing to the contralateral side, and while they are crossing they are damaged because that part of the spinal cord is degenerated. So these neurons are also degenerated. So the patient is going to lose, there is loss of touch, pain, temperature, and pressure. Okay, there is loss of touch, pain, temperature and pressure. So these primitive sensations are lost. But is there any problem to the advanced sensations because of this cavity, because of this syringomelia, because of this cavity syrinx, there is no problem with the dorsal column sensation. So the patient is going to have preservation of advanced sensations. So these advanced sensations are not affected. So his fine touch will be okay, but crude touch is lost. Okay, crude touch is lost, but the fine touch is okay. Okay, so this condition is called as syringomelia. So advanced sensations are spared. Okay, but these primitive sensations are lost, which means certain sensations are lost and certain sensations are preserved. This is called as dissociative sensory loss. Okay, dissociative sensory loss, which means certain sensations are lost and certain sensations are spared. Okay, so I have explained you about tabes dorsalis, syringomelia, as well as the hemisection of the spinal cord, that's the Brown-Séquard syndrome. Also I have explained you the different ascending tracts. Okay, different ascending tracts. Now information from the whole body. Okay, the whole body, the touch, pain, temperature information, advanced sensation information. Where is it going? It's first going into the spinal cord. Okay, all this information is coming to the highway. The highway in your body is the spinal cord. All the information first comes into the spinal cord. From the spinal cord, where this information will go: touch, pain, temperature, pressure, and even advanced sensations like fine touch, vibration, proprioception, 2-point discrimination. All the sensations from your body, first they will go into the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord the information will go to thalamus. So thalamus is called as sensory relay center. So thalamus is called as what? It is called as relay center for sensations, all the sensations, primitive sensations, advanced sensations, even special sensations. Okay, will come to the thalamus except all sensations reaches thalamus except what? Except olfaction. Okay, except olfaction, all the sensations will come to the thalamus. So thalamus is a mainly sensory in function. So which nucleus of the thalamus receive all the sensations? All the sensations are coming to which part of the thalamus? Say all the primitive sensations, advanced sensations, they are coming to the ventro-posterolateral. Okay, so ventro-posterolateral nucleus. Ventro-posterolateral nucleus is the one which receives all the sensations. It receives the sensations. Okay, it receives all the sensations. Okay, but there is one more nucleus which is called as ventro-posteromedial nucleus. This ventro-posteromedial nucleus is going to receive which sensations? They are going to receive taste sensation. Okay, this is something important. It's also a sense. Taste is a special sense, but taste is going to ventro-posteromedial. All other sensations are going to ventro-posterolateral nucleus of the thalamus. Okay, these are some important points which I want you to know. Now, in one of the exam, they have asked which nucleus of the thalamus is motor in function. It's doing the motor function. Okay, motor function. Motor nucleus is ventrolateral. Okay, and ventromedial and centromedial. So these nucleus, they are all motor nucleus. They are doing the motor functions. Okay, so thalamus is called as the relay center. Okay, thalamus is called as a relay center. Now, one more important point if you want to know, from the thalamus, actually in the sensory pathway, okay, actually in the sensory pathway, there are 3 neurons present. First order neurons, second order neurons and third order neurons. First order neurons are starting from the receptor, they are going to the spinal cord. Second order neurons starts from the spinal cord and they will go up to the thalamus. Now the information is in the thalamus. Now the third order neurons will go from the thalamus to the cortex. There are 3 neurons in the sensory pathway. There are 3 neurons in the sensory pathway. So third order neurons are going to begin from, okay, third order neurons are going to begin from the thalamus, right? So third order neurons starts from thalamus. Okay. Next, finally, where all this information is going? Where is this information going? The somatosensory information, touch, pain, temperature, pressure, vibration, proprioception, 2-point discrimination, all this information is going from the spinal cord to the thalamus, and from the thalamus this information is going to the cortex. So now let me show you. See, this is your brain. Okay, here I am showing you your brain. Now in your brain there is this area which is called as a central sulcus. Okay, this area which is called as central sulcus. Now the central sulcus is the one which divides the frontal lobe from the parietal lobe. Now this area which I am highlighting here in the yellow color, this area is called as precentral gyrus. You know, there will be a gyrus and sulcus. Again there will be a gyrus. So gyrus, sulcus, gyri. Okay. So this area which I have highlighted in the yellow color, so this is called as means anterior, right? So precentral gyrus. So this area which I am highlighting in the pink color, okay, this area, this is called as postcentral gyrus. The Brodmann's area number of the precentral gyrus is 4 and 6. The Brodmann's area number. The Brodmann's area number is 4 and 6, and the postcentral gyrus, the Brodmann's area number is 3, 1, 2. So what exactly are they? What is this postcentral gyrus and what is this precentral gyrus? See, this is the area of your brain, okay, which I am highlighting. This postcentral gyrus is your somatosensory cortex. It's your somatosensory cortex. It's your somatosensory cortex. It functions as your somatosensory cortex, which means all the sensations from your body. Okay, you are feeling all the sensations where? You are feeling all the sensations at the Brodmann's area number 312, that's the post, which is located in the postcentral gyrus. Like it's your somatosensory cortex. This is the area where you feel all the sensations. Okay, next, now what is this area? What is this area? See, this yellow color area is your motor cortex. It's a primary motor cortex. It's your primary motor cortex, which means your body movements, upper motor neurons are coming from this precentral gyrus. Okay, the upper motor neurons controls the lower motor neurons. Lower motor neurons are helping in the muscle contraction. So what I want you to understand is this precentral gyrus is your motor cortex. Okay, postcentral gyrus is your somatosensory cortex. Brodmann's area number 4 and 6 and Brodmann's area number 3, 1, 2. Now, apart from this, I want you to know a few more important things. Here, this area which I am highlighting, okay, this area which I am highlighting here, where is it located? It is located in the frontal lobe, inferior frontal gyrus. So this area is your inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, this area, one area I have highlighted. One more area, let me highlight here. This area, let's say this area. So this area which I am highlighting. Okay, so this green color area which I have highlighted, where is it located? It is located inferiorly in the frontal cortex, So that is, this area is called as Broca's area. Broca's area. Okay, where is it located? Inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, inferior frontal cortex, or you can say inferior frontal gyrus, it's a Broca's area. This Broca's area is very much needed. It's very much needed for speech. Okay, it's needed for speech, for the production of speech. Okay, for production of speech. Now the Brodmann's area number is 44. Okay, 44, 46. Brodmann's area number 44, at least I want you to remember Brodmann's area number 44. Now this area which I have highlighted, see this area, where is it located? It is located in the temporal lobe. Okay, the side, it's located in the temporal lobe, in the top of the temporal lobe. Okay, it's located in the top of the temporal lobe. So this is called as superior temporal gyrus. So superior temporal gyrus. Now this area which I have highlighted in the pink color, so this area is called as Wernicke's area. Okay, so this Wernicke's area, the Brodmann's area number is 22. Okay, Broadband's area number 22. And what is the importance of this Wernicke's area? This area is helping for the understanding of the speech, understanding, the comprehension we say, or understanding. Okay, so now you tell me, if this Broca's area is damaged because of some vascular injury, the Broca's area is damaged, the person cannot speak, but his comprehension is okay. So the patient is going to have broken speech. Okay, but comprehension is intact. Comprehension is intact. Now, in Wernicke's, okay, the Wernicke's area is damaged. If the Wernicke's area is damaged, the patient is going to lose the understanding, so can't understand. Okay, can't understand. Okay, and whatever he speaks, okay, and whatever he is speaking, that doesn't make any sense. He can fluently speak, but whatever he is speaking doesn't make any sense. Okay, so that is called as a fluent aphasia. Okay, fluent aphasia. Okay, now here if the Broca's area is damaged, that is called as Broca's aphasia. It's called as a expressive aphasia. Means he is having problem with the expression of his thoughts. Okay, he knows what he want to speak, but he couldn't speak because this area is damaged. Okay, now one more important point which I want you to know, these both areas, okay, these both areas, they are connected with the help of these fibers. Okay, these are called as arcuate fasciculus. Okay, this is called as what? Arcuate fasciculus. Arcuate fasciculus is going to connect the Broca's and Wernicke's area. Okay, so these are some important points which I want you to know. Broken speech, Broca's area, and fluent aphasia is Wernicke's aphasia. Okay, Brodmann's area number 44, and this is 22. That is inferior frontal cortex, and this is superior temporal cortex, superior temporal gyrus, and that is inferior frontal gyrus. Okay, these are some important points which I want you to know. Next, now in sensory nervous system, okay, in sensory nervous system, what else I want you to know is law of projection. Law of projection. Okay, before law of projection, let me explain you sensory homunculus also. Sensory homunculus. So what exactly is this sensory homunculus? It is a representation of the body parts. Okay, for example, let's say right now I am making a cross section at the level of C. I am making a cross section at the level of this area. Okay, I am just going to make a cut. I am going to cut the brain. I am going to make the cut at the level of postcentral gyrus. That's your somatosensory cortex. Okay, I am going to make a cut, and I am showing you from the anterior side how it's going to look. So this is your brain, you know it. I am going to show one half. Okay, these are the two cerebral hemispheres. Here I am showing you only one. Here there will be one more cerebral hemisphere which I am not showing you anyway. This is one cerebral hemisphere. So what is this part of the brain? This is the postcentral gyrus. Postcentral gyrus. This is your somatosensory cortex. Understood? Now let's make it as simple as possible. Here now I am showing you this part. Okay, this part of the brain, the medial most part. This is the medial most part. Here I am showing you the genitalia. For example, let's say here is the scrotum, and here I am showing you the reproductive organ. That's the male reproductive organ, penis. Now here I am just keeping that image actually. Okay. Now in this part of the brain here, I am showing you the lower limbs. Means I am representing the body parts on this brain matter. So what is exactly is this? What exactly is sensory homunculus? It is a representation of body parts on the brain dedicated for their sensory processing. For example, let's make it as simple as possible. So this part of the brain, this part of the somatosensory cortex is receiving the sensations from the genitals. Next, this part of the somatosensory cortex is receiving and processing the information from the foot and leg. Okay. So can I say something like this? These medial parts, the medial part of the somatosensory cortex, okay, the middle of the brain, the medial part is receiving the sensations from lower parts. Okay, receiving the sensation from the lower parts of the brain, lower parts of the body. Now look at this lateral part. Here I am showing you, for example, let's say this area is receiving the sensations from face. Okay, from face. This area is receiving the sensations from upper limbs. Okay, let's say from the hand. Okay, something like this. So the lateral parts, look carefully, the lateral parts of this cortex is receiving the sensations from head and neck, face and upper parts of the body. Okay, so let's make it as simple as possible. Now here I have shown you the postcentral gyrus. In the postcentral gyrus, the medial part is receiving the sensations from the lower parts of the body, and the lateral part of the cortex, is receiving the sensations from the upper parts of the body, like head and neck, thorax, okay, and upper limbs. Now look, see, for example, if I say this part of the cortex is dead, okay, let me highlight here with the black color, this part of the cortex is dead, this medial most part of the cortex is dead. Now you tell me the person is not going to feel the sensation from the genital region. Okay, now you understood. Now if this part of the cortex is damaged because of the vascular injury, this part of the cortex is damaged, so the patient cannot feel anything from his lower limbs. Okay, so this is what is sensory homunculus. Sensory homunculus is, for example, this part is dedicated for the sensory processing from which part of the body? This part of the brain is dedicated for sensory processing from which part of the body? Okay, so something like that. I am representing the body parts. If you go and search in the Google sensory homunculus, they will actually keep the body parts. Are this area for sensory processing from the face, this area for the sensory processing from lips, this area for the sensory processing from the genitals, this area for the sensory processing from hand, something like that. This is the representation of the body parts. Here I am not representing, that's it. Okay, I gave only a few examples. Questions which I want you to know is, so this part of the brain, the medial most part of the brain, okay, the medial most part of the brain, or I should say the medial most part of this somatosensory cortex is getting its blood supply from which blood vessel? That is the anterior cerebral artery. Okay, ACA, anterior cerebral artery, anterior cerebral artery. Now this lateral part of the brain, which is concerned with the sensory processing from the upper parts of the body, this lateral part of the brain is receiving its blood supply from the middle cerebral artery. So ACA and MCA. Okay, ACA and MCA. Now you should tell me, if a patient, okay, if a patient is having ACA stroke, anterior cerebral artery stroke, okay, anterior cerebral artery stroke. Now you tell me the patient is going to lose the sensations from, so patient loses sensations from where? From lower parts of the body. Okay, lower parts of the body. For example, if there is a damage on the right side, okay, right side of the brain, the patient is going to lose the sensations from the left side of the body. Okay, left side lower limbs. Okay, because all the sensations from the left side is going to come to the right side, and the sensations from the right side is going to go to the left side. You know it already. So now the patient is going to lose the sensations from the lower parts. Okay, opposite side lower parts. Now you tell me, there is a middle cerebral artery stroke. Okay, now tell me the patient is going to lose, patient loses sensations. From where? The patient loses sensations from upper parts of the body. Okay, upper parts of body, and face also. Okay, upper parts of the body, face, head and neck, these regions. Okay, opposite side, no doubt in that. So these are the concepts which I want you to know. So sensory homunculus is the representation of the body parts. Okay, it's a representation of the body parts, which area is dedicated for the sensory processing of which part of the body, which area of the brain is dedicated for sensory processing from which part of the body. Okay, so the medial most part is receiving the sensation from the lower side, and the lateral most part of the cortex is receiving the sensation from the upper parts of the body. Okay, now some single units are there. Okay, single units. Maximum representation. So maximum representation in the sensory homunculus, the maximum representation is given for face. So face, you are going to have a very big face. Okay, on the sensory homunculus, the face is represented in a very big way because a very big part of cortex, see, a very big part of cortex is receiving the sensations from the face. The sensory processing from the face is done by a big chunk of cortex. Okay, so maximum representation of it, so a very big face will be there. Even in face, lips takes more area. Lips takes more area. Okay, so maximum representation is for face and hand. Even in hand, the maximum area is given for the thumb. Okay, maximum area is given for the thumb. So this is the maximum representation. The sensory homunculus is given for the face and hand. In the face it is lips and in the hand it's thumb. That's it. Now after understanding this, let me explain you what is law of projection. Okay, law of projection. What exactly is this law of projection? Tells you. See, anywhere in the sensory pathway, anywhere, sensory pathway. Okay, that is first order neuron, second order neuron, third order neuron are directly somatosensory cortex. This is the pathway, right? First order, second order, third order neuron, somatosensory cortex. The information is going like this: first order to second order to third order to the somatosensory cortex. So this is how the information is going towards the cortex. Or anywhere in this pathway you stimulate. Okay, so for example, I am directly stimulating the second order neuron, or I am directly stimulating the third order neuron, or I am directly stimulating the somatosensory cortex. Okay, so what am I doing? Now look, for example, the same person, I am cutting his cranium open. Okay, I am opening his like cranium, okay, the skull bones. Now with an electrode, look what am I doing? With an electrode, I am stimulating this area. For example, with an electrode, I am directly stimulating this part of the cortex. Now, surprisingly, he will feel that, sir, someone are touching my genitals. Okay, but no one is touching his genitals, but he will feel. Okay, if you stimulate this part of the cortex, okay, if you stimulate this part of the cortex, directly you are stimulating the cortex. You are not touching his face, but he will feel that someone is touching his face. Okay, he will feel the sensations from his face. Okay, so what I am trying to put into your mind, sir, sensations are not felt at this extremities level. Sensations are not felt here. The sensations are felt in the brain. Okay, so either you stimulate the first order neuron, second order neuron, third order neuron, or directly stimulate the cortex. Directly stimulate the cortex. The person is going to feel the sensations from the level of receptor. He will feel that the sensations are coming from the receptor level. Okay, receptors are present where, for example, they are present in the throughout the body. Okay, now if you directly stimulate this part, of the cortex, he will feel that the stimulations are coming from the receptor level, that is the genital level. Okay, so law of projection tells you anywhere in the sensory pathway, if you stimulate, person will feel. Okay, the person perceives or the person feels sensations are coming from receptor level. This is called as law of projection. Okay. Now, why this is important in your exam? They will ask you, let's say there is a person who is an amputee. Imagine there is a person who is an amputee. He is not having his, for example, let's say right lower limb is not there. Okay, right lower limb is not there. But he can still feel the sensations in his foot, in his right foot. Okay, imagine a person who had an accident. In that accident, his legs are crushed. So you have done the amputation of the right limb. The right limb is gone. Right limb is gone. Total right limb is gone. But he will come to the clinic after 2 months. He will come to the clinic and he will say that I can feel the sensations from my right foot. I can feel a sudden painful stimulation from my right foot. You look at their right foot itself is not there. Okay, there is no right limb, but he is complaining that he is having pain in the right foot. How is it possible? Is it really possible? Yes, because sensations are not felt in the body. The sensations are felt in the brain. Brain is still present. The somatosensory cortex is still present. So the part of somatosensory cortex which is receiving the sensations from, the part of somatosensory cortex which is receiving the sensations from the right foot is still present. If it is irritated, okay, if it is irritated, you can feel the sensations from the right foot. Okay, from the right foot. So this law of projection is important for understanding. Okay, law of projection explains. Law of projection explains what? Phantom limb phenomena. Okay, so law of projection, it explains the phantom limb phenomena. If you don't find this answer, law of projection, you can also mark cortical plasticity. So cortical plasticity explains phantom limb phenomena. So these are the points which I want you to know. Okay, so these are the important topics which you should know from your sensory nervous system. Okay, all the important points from the sensory nervous system are discussed. Now let's continue discussing about the motor nervous system. Okay, now let's begin motor nervous system. See, in motor nervous system, the important topics which I want you to know are the descending tracts, okay, descending tracts. So how many types of descending tracts are there? I have explained to you there are two types of ascending tracts, which are the anterolateral spinothalamic tracts, okay, which are carrying the primitive sensation, anterolateral spinothalamic tract, and dorsal column tracts. The dorsal column tracts carry advanced sensations, that we have already discussed. Now let's discuss about the descending tracts. How many types of descending tracts are there? There are two types. What are they? First type is called as cortico-spinal. Okay, corticospinal tracts, which are also called as pyramidal tracts, and extrapyramidal tracts. Okay, extrapyramidal tracts. Now see, in the corticospinal tracts, the name itself is there. They are starting from the cortex. They will start from the cortex and they will come to the spinal cord. Okay, so corticospinal tracts, they are the descending tracts. They are starting from the cortex and they are coming down into the spinal cord. Okay, so for example, let me show you here the corticospinal tracts. See, here is a brain. This is a cross section of the brain. Here is the brainstem, okay, midbrain, pons, medulla, and here is the spinal cord. Okay, let's say here is the spinal cord. Now look, I am starting from the cortex. This is the motor neuron which is starting from the cortex. Okay, so this motor neuron, look, it is coming down. Okay, in the lower medulla, look, in the lower medulla, this neuron is crossing to the opposite side, and again it is descending down. It's the same neuron, it is descending down in the spinal cord. So it is coming and it is terminating in the spinal cord. Now this upper motor neuron is going to control this red color neuron, which is also called as upper motor neuron. It will control these lower motor neurons in the spinal cord. So this is the lower motor neuron, and what is this red one? This is the upper motor neuron. So now you tell me, in the motor pathway there are upper motor neurons and lower motor neurons. Now can you tell me what is this red color fiber doing? It is coming from the cortex, it is coming into the spinal cord, and it is crossing where? It is crossing at the level of medulla. So this is a corticospinal tract. It's a corticospinal tract. These corticospinal tracts, look, these corticospinal tracts, there are actually two types. What are the two types of corticospinal tracts? One is the lateral corticospinal tract and second one is anterior corticospinal tract. Okay, lateral and anterior corticospinal tract. Lateral corticospinal tract and anterior corticospinal tract. Now you carefully look here, these upper motor neurons are crossing, and now see in the spinal cord, where are they traveling? See, they are traveling in the lateral side of the spinal cord, in the lateral part of the spinal cord, or I should say the lateral column of the spinal cord. Okay, they are traveling in the lateral column of the spinal cord. Okay, for better understanding, let me draw the cross section of spinal cord here. Let me show you the cross section of spinal cord here. Let's say, look, see now, where is this traveling? It's traveling in the lateral column. This upper motor neuron, this red color neuron, it is traveling in the lateral column of the spinal cord. Okay, but some upper motor neuron, see 20%, 80% of upper motor neuron, they crosses to the opposite side and travels as lateral corticospinal tract. But 20% of the upper motor neurons, they do not cross. where they are traveling? They are traveling in the anterior side of the spinal cord. They are traveling in the anterior column of the spinal cord. Now they will also cross to the opposite side. They will also cross to the opposite side, and they will also control the lower motor neuron, a different lower motor neuron. So these tracts which are uncrossed and traveling in the anterior column of the spinal cord, they are called as anterior corticospinal tracts. They are 20% of the upper motor neurons. They don't cross to the opposite side. Where they are crossing? Their crossing occurs in the spinal cord. Crossing in spinal cord. Okay, their crossing occurs in the spinal cord. But lateral corticospinal tracts, where they are crossing? Their crossing occurs in medulla. Okay, their crossing occurs in the lower medulla. So how many types of corticospinal tracts are there? Simple. There are two types of corticospinal tracts. They are lateral corticospinal and anterior corticospinal. Here I have shown you lateral corticospinal and anterior corticospinal. Okay. Now, look, these upper motor neurons, okay, from where they are arising, you tell me. So these upper motor neurons, they should be arising from the motor cortex. Okay, they should be arising from the motor cortex, right? The upper motor neurons arises from the precentral gyrus motor cortex. But remember, yes, of course, 60% of them, of upper motor neurons, arises from the precentral gyrus. Okay, precentral gyrus. But 40% of upper motor neurons, they arises from postcentral gyrus. Okay, postcentral gyrus, which means upper motor neurons arises both from motor cortex as well as sensory cortex. Okay, remember, upper motor neurons, they arise both from sensory as well as motor cortex. Okay, and they are descending down into the spinal cord, right? Now, what are these extrapyramidal tracts? See, these extrapyramidal tracts are also descending tracts. Okay, they are also descending tracts, but they are not starting from cortex. Okay, they are not starting from cortex. They starts from brainstem. Okay, they start from brainstem, that is midbrain, pons, medulla, and from the brainstem, this comes to the spinal cord. Spinal cord, and they will control the lower motor neurons. They will control the lower motor neurons. So the point which I want you to know is, from where they are starting, they are not starting from the cortex, so they are not called as corticospinal tracts. They are not corticospinal tracts because they are not starting from the cortex. They are starting from the brainstem nuclei. Okay, they are starting from the brainstem nuclei and they are coming down into the spinal cord. Okay, so what are the examples of extrapyramidal tracts? Examples include rubrospinal, reticulospinal, tectospinal, vestibulospinal. So these are all extrapyramidal descending tracts. Okay. Now, important point which I want you to know for your exam is, see, this rubrospinal is a little special. It is starting from the red nucleus. It is starting from the red nucleus coming down into the spinal cord. Okay. So this rubrospinal along with corticospinal tracts, these corticospinal tracts and one rubrospinal, which is an extrapyramidal tracts, they are controlling the advanced fine movements. Okay, if you ask me, sir, why do we have, like, the corticospinal tracts and extrapyramidal tracts? Both are doing the motor function in the body. Both are going to control the motor functions in the body. But remember, corticospinal along with rubrospinal, they control the fine motor movements. Fine motor movements. They control the distal muscles. Okay, not the back muscles, not these muscles. They control the fine movements in the body. For example, like for writing, okay, writing, painting, okay, needlework. They are very fine movements. For these fine movements, you require muscle contraction or not? Yes, you require muscle contraction. So these fine movements are controlled by which neurons? Corticospinal tracts and rubrospinal tract. So that's important. So corticospinal along with the rubrospinal is controlling the fine motor movements. What about the extrapyramidal tracts? Extrapyramidal tracts. What they do? They control the tone. Okay, the gross movements. Gross movements like maintaining the tone in the muscles, balance. Okay, these things. Tone, balance, these things. Okay, so I have explained you here the two types of descending tracts. One is the corticospinal tracts, which are of two types, lateral corticospinal and anterior corticospinal. lateral corticospinal crosses at the level of medulla, anterior corticospinal crosses in the spinal cord. Okay, upper motor neurons, they arises from both the precentral gyrus as well as the postcentral gyrus and extrapyramidal tracts. There are 4 extrapyramidal tracts which are important for your exam. So I have given the list. Within that, the rubrospinal is involved in the controlling the fine movements in the body, controlling the distal movements in the body. Rubrospinal is starting from the red nucleus. Okay. Now, after this, let me explain you the lesions. What if the upper motor neuron is dead and what if the lower motor neuron is dead? So look here, upper motor neuron lesions. Now upper motor neurons, like I every time used to think something like this. Upper motor neurons, they are like parents and lower motor neurons are like children. Okay, always the upper motor neurons regulate the activity of the lower motor neurons. Parents are always looking after their children, okay, what they are doing, something like that. Okay, so in the presence of parents, children are calm. They are not doing any overaction, they are not doing any naughty things, they are absolutely calm. But in the absence of upper motor neurons, in the absence of parents, what these like children will do? They will do all sorts of naughty things. Okay, in the same way, it's the upper motor neurons which regulate the activity of the lower motor neurons. Okay, they control the firing of the lower motor neurons, how much to fire, when not to fire. Okay, in upper motor neuron lesion conditions, if they are damaged because of stroke or some reason, the upper motor neuron is damaged. Now, lower motor neurons, they will overfire. So because of this lower motor neuron overfiring, the muscles are innervated by the lower motor neurons. It's the lower motor neurons which innervate the muscles. So muscles are contracting so much. So if you look at the muscles, there will be spastic paralysis. Okay, the muscles are in spasm. You can't use those muscles. There is a spastic paralysis. Okay, and not only that, lower motor neurons. Okay, normal lower motor neurons are involved in the reflexes. For checking the reflexes, you require the lower motor neurons. Now in these conditions, the lower motor neurons are doing overaction. So if you elicit any reflex, okay, when you check any reflex, that reflex is going to be exaggerated. There will be hyperreflexia. Okay, and lower motor neurons are responsible for the tone maintenance in the muscle, for the maintenance of tone. Even during resting condition, certain muscle fibers are still contracted. Okay, certain motor units are active and certain muscle fibers are still contracted. Even during resting conditions, there is a tone. Okay, for the tone, you require lower motor neurons. Now in these conditions, the lower motor neurons are doing overaction. They are overfiring. So what about the tone inside the muscles? There will be hypertonia. Okay, there will be hypertonia. So in upper motor neuron lesions, the lower motor neurons are overfiring, which will lead to spastic paralysis, hyperreflexia and hypertonia. Not only that, if you check Babinski sign, okay, Babinski sign, that will come positive. Okay, so Babinski sign is going to be positive. You know what exactly is Babinski sign? You just take the foot. Okay, just take the foot and just make take a sharp object and just make a stroke like this. Okay, when you make a stroke like this, actually the fingers have to flex. The fingers have to flex like this. But if they are going like this, okay, if they are fanning out, if there is fanning out of fingers, it is a positive Babinski sign. It indicates there is some lesion in the upper motor neurons. If the fingers are going up means upper motor neurons are damaged. Okay, now exactly opposite thing. In lower motor neuron lesions, what happens? In lower motor neuron lesions, it's the lower motor neuron itself is dead. There is no lower motor neuron. Now, without lower motor neuron, the muscles are not going to contract. Okay, the muscles are not going to contract. So the patient is going to have flaccid paralysis. Okay, flaccid paralysis. There will be hyporeflexia and hypotonia. And Babinski sign is not going to be seen. There is no Babinski sign. So these are the differences between upper motor neuron lesions and lower motor neuron lesions. Okay. Now after this, let me explain you about a muscle, some important points about the proprioceptors in the muscle. Proprioceptors in the muscle. Now look here. Here is a muscle. Let's say here is a muscle. So muscle is made up of extrafusal fibers. Okay, which are nothing but the myofibers. Okay, these are the myofibers which contains actin and myosin, which help in the contraction of the muscle. These are extrafusal fibers. Extrafusal fibers. Okay, and even in your muscle there is a intrafusal fiber present. Intrafusal fibers. So in your muscle, how many types of fibers are there? There are extrafusal fibers as well as intrafusal fibers. Extrafusal fibers are actin and myosin, and these intrafusal fibers, there are many intrafusal fibers present. These intrafusal fibers together they forms muscle spindle. Okay, these intrafusal fibers are forming which thing? Muscle spindle. Muscle spindle. This muscle spindle, it's a receptor. It's a receptor. It detects what? It detects length of the muscle fiber. Length of muscle fibers. Okay, this is the length of the muscle fibers. So what I am trying to put into your mind, guys, your muscles, okay, your muscles are having two types of fibers: extrafusal fibers, which are nothing but the actin and myosin, which helps in the contraction, extrafusal fibers, and intrafusal fibers, which are forming the muscle spindle. Now you look, these extrafusal fibers, are they contract? Yes, they contract. Extrafusal fibers, they are innervated by a neuron, and even your intrafusal fibers, see, they are also innervated by a motor neuron. These intrafusal fibers also contract. So what I am trying to put into your mind is, both the extrafusal fibers and intrafusal fibers, they are contracting. When a muscle is contracting, both the extrafusal fibers contract as well as the intrafusal fibers contract. Both these fibers contract. Okay. For that, they require rich neuron innervation, motor neuron innervation. So this motor neuron which is innervating the extrafusal fiber, it is called as the alpha motor neuron. So alpha motor neurons innervate extrafusal fibers. Let me write here, alpha motor neurons innervate extrafusal fibers. Next, which motor neuron? See, there is a motor neuron which is innervating the intrafusal fibers, that is the gamma motor neuron. That's an MCQ. Okay, so gamma motor neurons innervate intrafusal fibers. So both fibers will contract when the muscle is contracting. When the muscle is contracting, both extrafusal fibers and intrafusal fibers, both of them are going to contract. The point which I want you to know is, what are these both? Alpha and gamma. See, both of them are types of lower motor neurons. So now tell me, lower motor neurons are of how many types? Lower motor neurons are of two types. You know, lower motor neurons causes the muscle contraction. Now tell me, lower motor neurons are of two types: alpha motor neurons, gamma motor neurons. Gamma motor neurons innervate intrafusal fibers, or you can also say muscle spindle. Okay, and the alpha motor neurons are going to innervate the extrafusal fibers. Okay, so now what I want you to know here is, see, this muscle spindle, I have told you, this muscle spindle, it's a receptor. It detects the length of the muscle fiber. Of course it is contracting. Okay, these intrafusal fibers are contracting, muscle spindle is contracting, but it is in a receptor, right? It's a receptor, right? So from this area, okay, from this area the information have to go. Okay, from this area, let's say different color. Now from this muscle spindle, the information have to go to the central nervous system. Okay, the information have to go to the central nervous system. What is the length of the muscle fiber? Proprioceptive information. What is the length of the muscle fiber? How much contraction is there? So this information have to go to the central nervous system. Now tell me, your intrafusal fibers, they are innervated by gamma motor neurons for contraction, as well as they are innervated by these sensory neurons. Sensory neurons are also innervated. Okay, sensory supply is also there, so that the sensory information is going to the central nervous system. What is the length of the muscle fiber always? So these fibers are called as primary 1A fibers and secondary fibers. Primary 1A fibers important. So the primary 1A fibers are the sensory supply to the muscle spindle. Primary 1A fibers and secondary fibers, they are innervating the muscle spindle. Okay, so now you tell me, in the muscle there are two types of fibers: extrafusal and intrafusal fibers. Extrafusal fibers are innervated by alpha motor neurons. Intrafusal fibers are innervated by gamma motor neurons. Alpha motor neurons, gamma motor neurons. Now muscle spindles, they are having both sensory supply as well as motor supply. Motor supply is gamma motor neuron, sensory supply is primary 1A fiber and secondary fiber. How many types of lower motor neurons are there? There are two types of lower motor neurons: alpha motor neurons and gamma motor neurons. Okay, now having said that, now let me explain you the reflexes. Okay, now let me explain you the reflexes. I will explain the reflexes directly here. Let me show you the reflexes here itself so that you will have a better understanding. See, the first reflex which I want to discuss here is the stretch reflex, which is also called as a monosynaptic reflex. Okay, when someone comes and stretches your muscle, okay, now here what I am doing, here I am taking a small hammer, okay, I am just tapping here, I am tapping, okay, I am tapping on a muscle. When I tap on a muscle, look, when I tap on a muscle, the person is not stretching his muscles, he is not stretching his muscles. From outside, by this tap, I am making his muscle to stretch, okay. When you tap on this tendon, this force which is applied on the tendon, it is going to pull the muscle, okay. So look carefully, when you tap here, that's going to cause the stretch, a little stretch, okay. For a fraction of a second, let's say there is a little stretch in the muscle. He is not doing it voluntarily, okay, he is not doing it voluntarily. So you are giving a sudden surprise to his muscles, suddenly these muscles are stretched. So what these muscles will do, maybe this is a bad stretch. In order to protect themselves, the muscles will undergo contraction, the muscles will undergo reflex contraction, that is called as stretch reflex. So when you stretch a muscle, that particular muscle will undergo contraction, that is called as a stretch reflex. So how it occurs? How it occurs, look carefully. So let's say when you tap here, okay, when you tap there, what happened? There is a sudden stretch in the muscle, this quadriceps muscle is going to be stretched. So who is going to be activated? The muscle spindle receptor. I have told you who detects the muscle fiber length, it is a muscle spindle. So muscle spindle is activated. Now once the muscle spindle is activated, this information have to go to the central nervous system. So this information is going via the which neurons? Primary 1A fibers and secondary fibers. The information is going to the central nervous system. Now in the central nervous system, look what happens. This primary 1A fibers and secondary fibers, they are activating this particular alpha motor neuron. So this alpha motor neuron to the same muscle, the alpha motor neuron to the same muscle will be activated. So you know alpha motor neurons, what they will do? Alpha motor neurons will cause the contraction of muscles. Alpha motor neurons are the ones which causes the contraction of muscles. At the same time, alpha motor neurons are activated as well as gamma motor neurons are activated. But at the end of the day, what happened? The muscle, that particular muscle, the muscle which have undergone stretch is now going to contract. So it will protect. Okay, so this is called as a stretch reflex. So what is the stimulus in the stretch reflex? The stimulus is the stretch. What is the receptor that is activated? Muscle spindles are activated because of the stretch. Now what are the afferents? The information is going to the central nervous system via the group 1A fibers and secondary fibers. What is the center? The information is going where? Not to the cortex, the information is going to the spinal cord. Okay, that information about the muscle length, the information about the muscle length, where is it going? Is it going to the spinal cord? Now what is the efferent? Alpha motor neurons are activated. So what is the response? That particular muscle is going to get contracted. That particular muscle is going to get contracted. So okay, this is the stretch reflex. Now say if we stretch a muscle, that particular muscle will undergo contraction. So that is called as a stretch induced contraction. How many synapses are there within the spinal cord? If you look here, there is only one synapse between the primary 1A fiber and alpha motor neuron. So it's called as a monosynaptic reflex. Okay, it's a simple reflex or monosynaptic reflex. Okay, so that's the one reflex which I want you to know. The next reflex which I want you to know for your exams is inverse stretch reflex. Inverse stretch reflex. You know stretch reflex, what exactly is inverse stretch reflex? For example, let's say, imagine I'm a person who is trying to hold, okay, who is trying to hold 10 kilos, okay, 10 kilo dumbbell, I'm trying to hold. So tell me, my muscles are contracted or not? Yes, my muscles are contracted. Now when my muscle is contracting, what happened to the tension on the tendons? What my muscle is contracting, the tension on the tendons, the tension pull, the force pull on the tendons are going to increase. So if I am weighing 10 kilos, nothing is going to happen, nothing. Okay, there is increase in the tension, but that's okay. That increase in tension is detected by, who detects that there is more tension on the tendons? Golgi tendon organ. There is a receptor called as Golgi tendon organ. It detects a tension on the tendons. Okay, I am weighing 10 kilos, nothing happens. Now imagine I am trying to hold, for example, 50 kilos. I am trying to hold the weight, 50 kilos weight. Now tell me, my muscles are so much contracted, so much contraction is there. There is so much tension on the tendons. At any time, these tendons may tear. Okay, there may be biceps tear. The tendons may tear away from the bones. So there is a chance that this tendon may tear at any time. Is that good? No. So when I am trying to hold these weights, there is increased tension in the tendons. So do you know what immediately happens? immediately all these muscles, they will undergo relaxation. So all the muscles which are contracting so far, now they will undergo relaxation. So immediately I am going to release the weight. Is that good? Yes, it is good. Otherwise, there may be a biceps tear. Okay, there may be tear of these muscles. You have seen in gym, in gym videos, this tear, right? Pectoralis tear, biceps tear. So what exactly is happening? Let me explain you here. Now, when you are trying to hold more weights, or when you increase the tension on the tendons, see, the stimulus is increase the tension on the tendons by a large force. Which receptor is activated? In your tendons, in your muscle tendons, there is Golgi tendon organ present. Is the receptor. It is activated. Oh my God, there is more tension. Now that information is going to the central nervous system. Look, that information is taken to the central nervous system. There is more tension, more tension, more tension. Not good. So this information is going via the group 1B fibers. Okay, so not via 1A. Here these fibers are group 1B fibers. Receptor is Golgi tendon organ which is activated, and the afferents are group 1B fibers. Now this information is going where? The center which is receiving the information is the spinal cord. So your spinal cord is receiving the information how much tension is there on the tendons. Okay, now what happens here is, see, this group 1B fibers are going to activate the inhibitory interneurons. So these blue color neurons which I am showing here, these are inhibitory interneurons that are activated. The inhibitory interneurons will inhibit the alpha motor neuron. They will inhibit alpha motor neuron. When the alpha motor neuron of this particular muscle is inhibited, means when the alpha motor neuron of this particular muscle is inhibited, means now this muscle is going to not contract, it's going to relax, and you are going to leave the weight. Okay, you are going to leave the weight. So in this reflex, the stimulus is increase the tension, receptor activated is Golgi tendon organ, the center receiving the information is the spinal cord with the help of group 1B fibers. And what are the efferents? The group 1B fiber is activating, look carefully, the group 1B fiber is activating the inhibitory interneurons. The inhibitory interneurons releases GABA and inhibits alpha motor neuron. So once the alpha motor neuron is inhibited to that particular muscle will undergo relaxation. So here in this spinal cord, you are seeing the two synapses. Okay, there are two synapses between 1A fiber and inhibitory interneuron and alpha motor neuron. There are two synapses. So that's why this is called as disynaptic reflex. So simple question, see how the question was asked in your exam. Inverse stretch reflex is mediated by. Okay, inverse stretch reflex is mediated by, you tell me, which receptors? It is Golgi tendon organs. So Golgi tendon organs mediate the inverse stretch reflex. Okay, now look here, I have told you about this diagram, Broca's aphasia, Wernicke's aphasia, you already know it. Now let's continue with our topics. Okay, I have explained you about reflexes also completed. Reflexes completed. What are the two reflexes that I have explained you? Stretch reflex and inverse stretch reflex. Stretch reflex completed, inverse stretch reflex completed. Both are completed. Okay, now after this, I want you to know important points about the hypothalamus. Okay, hypothalamus. There are different nuclei in the hypothalamus. Okay, there are different nuclei in the hypothalamus which are concerned with the different activities in the body. Okay, the recent exam, the question which was asked is hypothalamus is your thermoregulatory center. Thermoregulatory center. Okay, it's your thermoregulatory center. Maintains your body temperature. Okay, see, there is a nucleus called as anterior nucleus. Okay, anterior hypothalamic nucleus. What it does? See, this anterior hypothalamic nucleus is going to cool your body. It's going to cool your body, means thermoregulation. For example, when you are in a desert, you need to cool down, your body need to cool down, and who is going to do that job for you? It's the anterior hypothalamic nucleus cools down your body, so helping in heat adaptation. Okay, heat adaptation. The anterior hypothalamic nucleus, it's going to cool your body. How? By increasing sweating. Okay, by increasing sweating. Okay, and vasodilation. So with the help of these mechanisms, okay, heat adaptation, that is increasing sweating and increasing the vasodilation, you are going to lose the heat and you are going to cool down your body. Okay, sweating and increased vasodilation. Anterior nucleus. So I used to always remember A for AC, anterior hypothalamic nucleus is going to cool down your body, A for AC. And there is one more nucleus, posterior nucleus. So posterior nucleus is going to warm your body. It warms your body. So if you are in a cold environment, for example, you are in a foreign, okay, you are in foreign and outside is cold, okay, outside is cold. Now you need to warm up your body. So how is going to do that? It's a posterior nucleus of the hypothalamus. It warms your body, so it helps in cold adaptation. It helps in what? Cold adaptation. Now what is it doing? How is it going to help you in the cold? By shivering. Shivering, thermogenesis and vasoconstriction. So remember how you are going to increase your body temperature. Your body temperature will be increased by shivering and vasoconstriction, and you can decrease your body temperature by sweating and vasodilation. Important points to remember. So anterior nucleus is AC, posterior nucleus is going to be like oven. Posterior nucleus is going to increase your body temperature. Okay. What other nucleus you should know for your exam? 2 nucleuses are completed. The third nucleus is suprachiasmatic nucleus. Suprachiasmatic nucleus. The suprachiasmatic nucleus is called as a biological clock. It's called as biological clock. Why? Because this suprachiasmatic nucleus, it's going to regulate your circadian rhythm. Okay, it's going to regulate what? Circadian rhythm. That's the 24-hour activities, or you can say sleep-wake cycle. Sleep-wake cycle. Okay, sleep-wake cycle. So suprachiasmatic nucleus is a biological clock. It's going to control your circadian rhythm or sleep-wake cycle. Suprachiasmatic nucleus is influenced by a hormone which is called as a melatonin. Okay, melatonin. Now, who is going to produce this melatonin? By pineal gland. Okay, the pineal gland is going to produce melatonin, and melatonin is going to actually take you to sleep. Okay, it's going to induce the sleep. It's a sleep neurotransmitter. It's going to helpful for sound sleep. Okay, suprachiasmatic nucleus, biological clock, that's it. Next, what else I want you to know is 3 nucleus completed: anterior nucleus, posterior nucleus, suprachiasmatic nucleus, and there are certain nucleus which will control the amount of food intake. Okay, for example, say there is a nucleus which will make you feel hunger. That is a lateral nucleus. Lateral nucleus. Okay, so a lateral nucleus is your hunger center. Okay, lateral nucleus is your hunger center. So it increases your feeling of hunger. I want you to know here what are the neurotransmitters which are produced at this level. Okay, in this lateral nucleus, which will make you feel hunger. One is orexin. Okay, so orexins are going to increase your hunger. Next, not only orexin, also ghrelin. So orexins and ghrelin, okay, orexins and ghrelin, they are going to increase the feeling of hunger. Okay, now after eating a full plate of biryani, let's say, after eating a full plate of biryani, you are not going to feel any hunger. You are lying like, I'm like, full, I'm done, I don't want to eat anymore. So the feeling of satiety, the feeling of fullness is given by which nucleus? So one more nucleus, that is called as a ventromedial nucleus. Ventromedial nucleus is your satiety center. Satiety center, the feeling of fullness. Okay, which other hormones are going to make you feel full? Okay, I want you to know satiety, the center is a ventromedial nucleus. Leptin. Leptin is produced by adipocytes. Okay, leptin is produced by adipocytes, and leptin is going to decrease your hunger. Okay, so leptin, I want you to know one more important point about leptin is it's called as an anorexigenic hormone. Anorexigenic hormone, which means anorexigenic hormone. It decreases your hunger. Okay, it decreases your hunger. For example, if you don't have this leptin, you will eat more and more food, you will become obese. You will become obese. Okay, and what other hormones? What other hormones can make you feel full? Amylin. Amylin, which is produced with pancreas, just I am adding here, amylin which is produced from the pancreas is also going to make you the feeling of satiety, which will give the feeling of satiety, leptin, okay, anorexigenic hormone. So these are the nucleus, anterior nucleus, posterior nucleus, suprachiasmatic nucleus, lateral nucleus, ventromedial nucleus, and some other nucleus which I want you to know for your exams are supraoptic nucleus, okay, let's say supraoptic nucleus of the hypothalamus is going to produce antidiuretic hormone, and paraventricular nucleus is going to produce oxytocin, okay, oxytocin. Okay, so the mnemonic every time I give, it's a SOAP. Supraoptic nucleus produces antidiuretic hormone, paraventricular nucleus produces oxytocin. Next, see, hypothalamus do have some role in the sleep. Okay, it do have some role in the sleep. Sleep and wakefulness, actually wakefulness. The point which I want you to know is there are two nuclei. Okay, two hypothalamic nuclei. What are they? So posterior hypothalamic nuclei, posterior hypothalamus, and lateral hypothalamus. Okay, these are the hypothalamic nuclei, posterior hypothalamic nuclei and the lateral hypothalamic nuclei. Already we have discussed the posterior hypothalamic nuclei makes your body warm. Lateral hypothalamic nuclei is going to be your hunger center. Okay, it's going to be your hunger center. Now, this posterior hypothalamic nucleus and lateral hypothalamic nucleus, they will keep you awake. See, posterior hypothalamic nucleus produces a neurotransmitter called as histamine. Okay, histamine. Lateral hypothalamic nucleus produces, okay, lateral hypothalamic nucleus produces orexins. Okay, orexins. Now, they are responsible to keep you awake. Okay, to keep you awake. So, you know, two wakefulness centers is the posterior hypothalamus and lateral hypothalamus. So, they will keep you awake. They are responsible to keep you awake. Right now, you are listening to this lecture. So, you are awake. So, there is production of histamine and orexins. They will keep you awake. They are the wakefulness neurotransmitters. Actually, there are 4 areas. Okay, let me write here. One is reticular formation. Okay, reticular formation. Next area is posterior hypothalamus, posterior hypothalamic nuclei, and lateral hypothalamus, and fourth one, Raphe nucleus. Raphe nucleus. See, these are the 4 areas. They will keep you awake. Reticular formation produces norepinephrine. Posterior hypothalamus, right now I have told you histamine. It produces histamine. Lateral hypothalamus produces orexins. And Raphe nucleus produces serotonins. Okay, so this is a question which was asked in the exam. What is the source of serotonin in the brain? It is a Raphe nucleus. Okay. Now, these are the 4 neurotransmitters. Look, norepinephrine, histamine, orexin, and serotonin. These are the 4 neurotransmitters which are responsible to keep you awake. Right now, you are awake because of the 4 centers and 4 neurotransmitters. Now, you tell me, in the morning, what happened to these neurotransmitters? These neurotransmitters increase, and during night, okay, during night, what happened to these neurotransmitters? They will go down so that you will go into the sleep. Okay, during wakefulness, these neurotransmitters are more. When you are sleeping, these neurotransmitters will decrease. Now, orexins, if they are deficient, they are going to cause, orexins are the ones which keep you awake, which keeps you awake. If the orexins are deficient, if they are less, that will cause a condition called as narcolepsy. You will study this in your psychiatry again in sleep disorders. That will orexin deficiency, orexin which is also called as a hypocretin, okay, or hypocretin, orexin also called as a hypocretin. If it is a deficient, it is going to cause narcolepsy, okay, narcolepsy. Okay, so these are the 4 areas which I want you to know. sleeping centers. Hypothalamus important nucleus completed, all different types of important nucleus in the hypothalamus completed. Now wakefulness area is completed, okay, sleep. And now let me discuss about the sleeping areas. Okay, ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. Okay, ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. There is VLPON, ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. It is your sleeping center. It will be your sleeping center. So what are the sleeping neurotransmitters? I have already told you melatonin and acetylcholine. They are responsible to induce sleep. Okay, they are responsible to induce sleep. So hypothalamus, you know some important things: circadian rhythm, biological clock, sleep wake cycles, hunger center, hunger center, satiety center, okay, cold adaptation, cold adaptation, warm adaptation. You have studied everything. Now here I want to add a few more things. Which part of your brain, okay, is a pleasure center? Okay, the area where you feel the pleasure, okay, that is ventral tegmental area. So ventral tegmental area is your pleasure center. Okay, a few more points which I want you to know, that is nucleus accumbens. Okay, nucleus accumbens and medial forebrain bundle. These areas are also concerned with pleasure and addiction. Okay, they are also concerned with pleasure and addiction. So what is your pleasure center, which was previously asked in your exam? It's a ventral tegmental area. Not only that, the nucleus accumbens and medial forebrain bundle, they are also concerned with addiction. Okay, they are also associated with the pleasure and addiction. Okay, it's addiction center. Okay, the other two. Okay, so having said that, I have completed the hypothalamus, as well as I have explained you about the wakefulness areas, the 4 wakefulness areas, and the sleeping center, ventrolateral preoptic nucleus. Now let me explain you about the EEG. Okay, the different EEG waves which you should know for your exam. Okay, EEG waves. If you measure the electrical activity of the brain, you are going to get the EEG waves. What are the different EEG waves? There are alpha waves, beta waves, gamma waves, theta waves, and delta waves. Alpha waves are called as Berger waves. Now when you will get the alpha waves? Alpha waves are seen, okay, alpha waves are seen during relaxed state. You are relaxed, completely relaxed. Your eyes are closed and you are doing meditation, simple. Okay, relaxation. The patient is not sleeping, eyes are closed, and the patient is absolutely relaxed. So you will have a frequency of 8 to 12 hertz. The frequency of this alpha waves is 8 to 12 hertz. Okay, the frequency is 8 to 12 hertz. So seen when? During relaxed state. Okay, so these are the first waves recorded by the Hans Berger. Okay, the one who have recorded the EEG waves for the first time, alpha waves. The first waves which was recorded are the alpha waves by the Hans Berger. That's why alpha waves are called as the Berger waves. Okay, next beta waves. Now when you have the beta waves, right now my mind is active. Okay, my mind is active. So beta waves, the frequency is 13 to 30 hertz, seen in active mind. Okay, alpha waves are also called as inattention wave. Inattention wave. The beta waves are also called as EEG desynchronization wave. EEG desynchronization wave. Okay, next gamma waves. When you will have, see, the frequency of gamma waves is more than 60 hertz. You are having intense mental activity. Okay, you are having high focus. Okay, high focus, intense mental activity. Means you are solving some problem. Okay, you are solving some problem, like the mathematical equation you are solving. So you are having high focus, intense mental activity is going to show the gamma waves. The gamma waves are going to be coming. Now theta waves are going to be seen. What is the frequency of the theta waves? The frequency of the theta waves are going to be 4 to 7 hertz. Okay, 4 to 7 hertz. Theta waves are seen during light sleep. Okay, light sleep, or when the patient is drowsy. Okay, when the patient is drowsy. Now these theta waves are also called as memory waves. Memory waves. Next, delta waves, the frequency is 1 to 3 hertz. They are seen during dreaming or deep sleep. Or dreaming. They are also called as slow waves. Okay, so there are some important points which I want you to know. What is the frequency they will ask you in your exam? They will ask you frequency of alpha waves 8 to 12 hertz, 13 to 30 beta, more than 60 gamma, 4 to 7 theta, and 1 to 3 is delta. Okay, so different waves and their frequencies and in which conditions they are seen and what are their other names. Okay, what are their other names? EEG waves, completed. Next, what else I want you to know is regarding the sleep. Okay, sleep. How many phases of sleep are there? There are two phases of sleep, REM sleep and non-REM sleep, NREM. So REM for rapid eye movement sleep and NREM. See, this NREM is having further stages. NREM type 1 or sorry NREM stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 and stage 4. Okay, so there are 4 stages in NREM. Okay, let's put it this way. First NREM sleep and REM sleep. So tell me, once you go into the sleep, immediately do you think eyes will move? No, first you are going into NREM. First you will go into NREM sleep. Later you will come into REM. First NREM, NREM 1, 2, 3, 4, you will come to REM. Again NREM 1, 2, 3, 4 and come to the REM. Means you are going through the cycles. In your exam they will ask you most of the time you will spend, okay, or let's say which is having the longest period, which sleep is the NREM stage 2. You will spend most of the time in NREM stage 2. Most of the time you spend in NREM stage 2, longest duration of the sleep. Longest duration of the sleep is NREM stage 2, long duration. Okay, so now you tell me, first initially you will go to what? Initially you will go to NREM stage 1. So stage 1, okay, stage 1, is it a light sleep or is it a deep sleep? What do you think? Stage 1 definitely it's going to be light sleep. It's light sleep. First you are going little by little, drowsy. Okay, so which waves are going to be seen? Theta waves. So if someone asks you in stage 1 NREM, which EEG waves are going to be seen? Theta waves. What is the frequency of theta waves? 4 to 7 hertz. In NREM stage 2, see, in NREM stage 2, the frequency of waves that are coming are going to be 8 to 12 hertz. 8 to 12 hertz. The frequency is 8 to 12 hertz. Now, these are not alpha waves. These are not alpha waves because alpha waves are seen during the like wakefulness. Alpha waves are seen during relaxed mind, not during sleep. So, these are not alpha waves. Okay, they are not alpha waves. Here, what you will see in this EEG is sleep spindles as well as K complexes. Okay, so they will ask you sleep spindles and K complexes are seen during stage 2 NREM. Stage 3 and 4 they are the deep sleep. So which waves are going to be seen? You are going to see delta waves. Okay, delta waves are going to be seen. What is the frequency? 1 to 3 hertz. So deep sleep, stage 3 and 4 are the deep sleep. Okay, so different stages NREM 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, NREM 1, 2, 3 and 4 and their different EEG waves, theta waves, okay, sleep spindles and K complexes are going to be seen and stage 3 and 4 are the deep sleep where you are going to see the delta waves. Now here I want you to know some abnormalities. Okay, I want you to know some abnormalities. See, whatever happens during NREM, sleep, they are not remembered. Remembered like NREM, not remembered. So there are certain abnormalities of the sleep. For example, like sleep walking. Okay, sleep walking also called as Somnambulism. So the sleepwalking or somnambulism, the person is walking but he couldn't recollect what happened. Like, tomorrow morning you ask him, you are walking here and there. He says, no, I don't remember, I can't remember, okay, that I have done this thing. So sleepwalking, okay, sleepwalking or somnambulism, it is mainly seen in NREM stage 3 and 4. NREM stage 3 and 4. Next, bruxism. Bruxism is teeth grinding. Okay, so teeth grinding, some people used to do teeth grinding, that is seen during NREM stage 2. That's an MCQ. NREM stage 2, NREM stage 2, bruxism, stage 3 and 4, somnambulism. And what else? Nocturnal enuresis. Okay, nocturnal enuresis, that is bedwetting. Okay, and during NREM, you can also have one more abnormality, that is called as a night terrors. Night terrors means bad dreams. Okay, bad dreams which you can't remember. Nocturnal enuresis, bedwetting, you can't remember it. Bruxism, teeth grinding, you can't remember it. Sleepwalking and somnambulism, you can't remember it. So these are all the parasomnias. Okay, parasomnias. These are all the parasomnias, means abnormalities during the sleep. Okay, these are all the abnormalities during the sleep, parasomnias. Okay, now tell me, all these parasomnias, whatever I have written here, all these parasomnias are seen during NREM. Okay, they are not seen during REM, because point which I want you to know is during REM. Okay, during REM sleep, all muscles are relaxed in the body. All the muscles, okay, all the skeletal muscles, all the skeletal muscles are relaxed except diaphragm, because diaphragm should be working, then only you will be breathing. Diaphragm and extraocular muscles. Except these two, except the diaphragm and extraocular muscles, all the muscles are relaxed. So now you tell me, in REM all the muscles are relaxed. So in REM, is it possible to do walking? No. Is it possible to do talking? Is it possible to do teeth grinding? Or is it possible to do like walking, talking, all these things? No, it's not possible, because for that you require the muscles. For walking you require all the muscles in the body, leg muscles. For talking you require the muscles of the face. Okay, for bruxism you require the masticatory muscles. So what I am trying to put into your mind is, during REM all the skeletal muscles in your body are relaxed, so it's not possible for you to do somnambulism, sleep talking or sleepwalking or bruxism. It's not possible. Okay, so parasomnias are seen where? The parasomnias are seen during NREM. Which parasomnias can be seen in REM? Guys, look here, in REM you can have dreams, bad dreams, that are called as nightmares. That's called as what? Nightmare. Okay, what is a nightmare? Nightmare is a bad dream that can be remembered. It's a bad dream that can be remembered. Okay, the bad dream that can be remembered is called as a nightmare. So now you tell me, dreams occurs both in REM and NREM. Dreams occurs, let me write here, dreams occurs both in NREM and REM. Dreams occurs in both, okay, NREM and REM, but are not remembered. In NREM, in REM the dreams can be remembered. Okay, the dreams can be remembered. In both the places dreams can be seen. Okay, next, important points about the REM sleep. One more important point about the REM sleep. If you check the electrical activity of the brain, if you measure the electrical activity of the brain, the frequency is going to be 13 to 30 hertz. The frequency is coming 13 to 30 hertz. Now you tell me, what is this frequency? The frequency is of beta waves. So which waves are coming during REM sleep? The patient is sleeping. Look, the patient is sleeping. But which waves are coming? Beta waves are coming. Normally beta waves are seen during active mind, active busy mind. Now the person is sleeping, REM sleep, he is having beta waves. So that's why, because of this reason, This is something like, unusual, right? So that's why this REM sleep is also called as paradoxical sleep. This is called as what? Paradoxical sleep. REM sleep is called as a paradoxical sleep because the patient is sleeping, but the wakefulness waves are coming, the beta waves are coming. Okay, beta waves are coming. Not only that, here, if you measure the electrical activity, if you do the EEG, electroencephalography, beta waves are coming. Not only that, you will see the PGO spikes in the EEG. Okay, sleep spindles and K complexes are seen in stage 2 NREM. PGO spikes are seen in REM sleep. PGO spike like pontogeniculo-occipital spikes, which are responsible for the eye movements, those PGO spikes are seen during REM sleep. Okay, REM sleep. Now after this, I want you to know a few more important points about the basal ganglia. Okay, basal ganglia. See, in the topic of basal ganglia, what I want you to know is, say, what is the function? The function of the basal ganglia is it plants and stores, I should say stores and plants. It stores and plans motor movements. Okay, it stores and plans the motor movements. Okay, you understood? For example, you know how to ride a bicycle, you know how to do chatting, you know how to do the somersaulting. Okay, see, all these are motor activities. For that motor activities, how much to contract, how much to relax, which muscle to contract, which muscle to relax, how much you have to flex, how much you have to extend. See, everything should be happening. Okay, to properly execute a motor movement, certain muscles should be contracted, certain muscles should be relaxed, certain muscles should maintain particular tone. Okay, so who is doing that planning? Basal ganglia, where all these motor programs, how to ride a bicycle, that motor program is stored where? In the basal ganglia. Okay, so basal ganglia stores and plans the motor movements. Not only that, basal ganglia inhibits, it inhibits involuntary movements. Okay, it inhibits involuntary movements, unnecessary movements are inhibited. Okay, for example, I am sitting like this, I don't require any unnecessary movement, I don't want that. When you are sleeping, you should not have any unnecessary movement, involuntary movements. Who is going to inhibit those movements? It's the basal ganglia. So basal ganglia is not a one structure, there are 5 different components are there. So what are their components of basal ganglia? Basal ganglia is not one thing, it's not a one thing. Components include caudate nucleus, so caudate nucleus, next putamen, okay, caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, which includes globus pallidus externus, globus pallidus internus, next substantia nigra, which is present in the midbrain, next subthalamic nucleus. Okay, subthalamic nucleus. So the point which I want you to know here, guys, look, there are 5 things, there are 5 components: caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, substantia nigra and subthalamic nucleus. These are the 5 components of the basal ganglia. Look, this caudate nucleus and putamen together they are called as a striatum. Okay, together they are called as striatum. Now here they will ask you the neurotransmitters. The striatum is going to produce GABA as a neurotransmitter. Globus pallidus produces GABA as a neurotransmitter. Substantia nigra produces dopamine, and subthalamic nucleus produces glutamate, excitatory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. Glutamate, excitatory neurotransmitter. Okay, GABA is inhibitory. Okay, inhibitory neurotransmitter. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. Now, what else? You know the function of the basal ganglia, what are the components of the basal ganglia? See, in the basal ganglia there are 2 circuits. Okay, there are 2 circuits, or you can say 2 pathways. Okay, 2 pathways are there. One is called as a direct pathway. The other is called as the indirect pathway. Okay, direct pathway and indirect pathway. Say, don't want you to go into too much details about this direct and indirect pathway. See, what happens in this direct pathway at the end of the day? See, in the direct pathway, the motor cortex will be activated. Finally, at the end, motor cortex will be activated. In the indirect pathway, the motor cortex will be inhibited. The motor cortex will be inhibited. The question is, say when the motor cortex is activated, okay, that's going to activate the upper motor neurons, lower motor neurons, and the muscle contraction is going to happen. So activation of direct pathway, once the direct pathway is activated, motor cortex is activated, that will facilitate movements. It facilitates the movements. Now, what is the function of the indirect pathway then? Indirect pathway is inhibiting the motor cortex, so it inhibits movements. So, inhibits unnecessary movements. So, what I am trying to put into your mind is the basal ganglia is having two circuits. One is the direct pathway and indirect pathway. Direct pathway is going to facilitate the movement. Indirect pathway is going to inhibit the movement. Now, direct pathway is activated by substantia nigra. See, the substantia nigra by producing dopamine. By producing dopamine, it activates the direct pathway. It activates the direct pathway, and dopamine inhibits the indirect pathway. One pathway is getting activated and the other pathway is getting inhibited. So finally tell me, because of the activation of direct pathway, okay, the activation of direct pathway, there will be facilitation of movements, and the same dopamine is also inhibiting the indirect pathway, inhibiting the indirect pathway. So if you inhibit the indirect pathway, that will also facilitate the movements. So finally I can say one thing, dopamine is required for the movements. Dopamine is going to facilitate movements. Okay, dopamine is going to facilitate the movements. Now, if you decrease the dopamine levels, why? Maybe in Parkinsonism. So the dopamine levels are decreased in the Parkinsonism, the damage to the substantia nigra, the dopamine levels in the nigrostriatal pathway is going to go down. So when the dopamine is not there, direct pathway is not stimulated, indirect pathway is not inhibited. So what happens? Now movements decreases. Now without dopamine, movements decreases. That's why in a Parkinsonism patient, the patient is going to have triad of symptoms. RAT means rigidity will be there. His muscles are rigid. You can't make the movement rigid. Echinacea means no movement, echinacea, and tremors. So the patient with the Parkinsonism is going to have rigidity, echinacea or bradykinesia, and tremors. Okay, tremors. These tremors are called as resting. Even during resting, the patient is going to have tremors. These are called as resting tremors. Okay, resting tremors or pill rolling tremors, you can say. Okay, so these are the important points which I want you to know regarding the basal ganglia. Basal ganglia, two pathways. Direct pathway facilitate movements, indirect pathway inhibits the movements. Dopamine is a stimulus. Dopamine is a stimulus for the movements. Okay, now here let's see if there is a lesions to the basal ganglia. There is some problem with the basal ganglia gone. Okay, basal ganglia damaged. Now you know basal ganglia inhibits the movements, predominantly inhibitory. It inhibits the unnecessary movements. If there is a damage to basal ganglia, there will be involuntary movements. There will be involuntary movements. Okay, involuntary movements are going to be seen. So lesions, look, damage to striatum. You can say damage to caudate nucleus also. Okay, damage to striatum or caudate nucleus. Now what will happen if there is damage to striatum or caudate nucleus? The patient is going to have a type of involuntary movement called as chorea. Okay, striatal damage is going to cause chorea. Next, see, damage to subthalamic nucleus. Is going to cause a type of involuntary movement called as hemibalismus. Okay, next, damage to globus pallidus. Okay, damage to globus pallidus. Is going to cause a type of involuntary movement called as athetosis. Okay, athetosis. But in your exam, they will try to confuse you by giving certain keywords. For example, they will say for chorea, they will say what kind of movement is chorea? Chorea is a type of flicking movement. Okay, flicking movements in the extremities. They will say flicking movements in the extremities. Which part of the basal ganglia is damaged? It's a striatum, caudate nucleus damaged. Hemibalismus. What kind of movement is hemibalismus? It is flinging movements, not flicking, flinging, sudden flinging or railing movement of the one extremity, the one whole extremity. Okay, flinging movements are railing movements. Athetosis is writhing. Okay, athetosis is writhing movement. So these are certain keywords which they will try to give in your exams just to confuse you. Okay, so lesions, striatal damage is going to cause chorea, subthalamic nucleus damage is going to cause hemibalisms, and globus pallidus damage is going to cause athetosis. Athetosis is writhing movement, flinging movements are hemibalisms, flicking movements are chorea. Okay, with this all the important topics which I want you to know in the nervous system. Okay, so sensory nervous system, the motor nervous system, hypothalamus, basal ganglia. Okay, all the important topics which I want you to, like, reflexes, all the important topics completed. Now let's continue with the previous year questions. Okay, previous years, how questions were asked from the central nervous system. Okay, in this topic I am not only going to take the questions from the central nervous system, also from the nerve physiology. Okay, nerve physiology, neuron and nerve. Okay, I will take that questions also. Nerve fiber classification questions are also be coming. We will discuss that now. Okay guys, now let's see the PYQs from the central nervous system. Now look at this question. Which of the following receptors mediate the stretch reflex? You already know it. See, stretch reflex, when you stretch a muscle, that particular muscle is also going to contract. Okay, when you stretch a muscle, the muscle spindle will be activated. The activation of the muscle spindle is going to activate the primary 1A fibers. You know the story already. So stretch reflex is mediated by muscle spindles. Okay, this is the answer. Next, lesion in the medial lemniscus at the level of pons, okay, causes which of the following? Okay, where is the lesion? Lesion is in the medial lemniscus. First of all, you have to understand what exactly is the medial lemniscus. Medial lemniscus is carrying, okay, it's a tract, it is carrying the advanced sensations. Okay. So now you tell me, if medial lemniscus is damaged, the patient is going to lose the advanced sensations on the opposite side of the body, because advanced sensations are not crossing at the level of the spinal cord. Okay, the advanced sensations from this side of the body are traveling in the same side of the spinal cord. These advanced sensations do cross in medulla. Okay, the advanced sensations which are coming from the fasciculus gracilis and fasciculus cuneatus, from the lower limbs and the upper limb, they ascend up and they cross in the medulla, not in the spinal cord. So after crossing in the medulla, these tracts travels as medial lemniscus. So once if I am talking about the medial lemniscus is carrying the advanced sensations from the opposite side of the body. Okay, so now you tell me, if there is a lesion to the medial lemniscus, pain and temperature loss on the same side. No, this is wrong, because pain and temperature are the primitive senses. Pain and temperature loss on opposite side, definitely not the answer. Loss of tactile and proprioception on the same side. Tactile sensation, fine touch, proprioception, they are advanced sensations, but they are lost on the opposite side of the body, because medial lemniscus carries advanced sensations from the opposite side of the body. Okay, so this is the answer. Loss of tactile and proprioception, vibration, 2-point discrimination, stereognosis from the opposite side of the body. So this is the answer. Okay, next, a lady presented with a vascular injury to the inferior frontal gyrus. You already know it. Who is there in the inferior frontal gyrus? It's the Broca's area, Brodmann's area number 44 and 46. Now when the Broca's area is damaged, you tell me what happens. Which of the functional area is most likely to be affected? It's the motor speech area. Okay, it's a motor speech area, that is the Broca's area is affected. The patient is going to have expressive aphasia. He can comprehend, he can understand, but he can't speak like you and me. So, the motor speech area is affected, that's the Broca's area is affected. Okay, so here this is the answer. Now you already know Wernicke's area. What is Wernicke's area? It's present in the superior temporal gyrus. Wernicke's area is present in superior temporal gyrus, which is helping for the comprehension. Okay, you know these areas. Here this area which is marked in the blue color is called the Broca's area. The area which is marked in the red color, it's called the Wernicke's area. Okay, Wernicke's area. Next, look at this. A patient met with RTA, road traffic accident, and developed cervical spine injury. He is having a cervical spine injury fracture. The fractured fragment of the bone have pierced the lateral aspect of the dorsal column. Already I have explained you. If this is the spinal cord, okay, already I have explained you this. So which area is getting pierced? The lateral aspect of the dorsal column. This is the lateral aspect of the dorsal column, or you can say this is the lateral aspect of the dorsal column. Now you tell me, in this lateral aspect, which tract will be there? There will be fasciculus cuneatus. Fasciculus cuneatus is carrying what? Advanced sensations from the upper limb. So which of the following findings are seen in the patient? The patient is going to lose what? The patient is going to lose advanced sensations from the upper limb. So absence of ipsilateral lower limb proprioception. Yes, true. Ipsilateral same side proprioception will be lost from the upper limb but not the lower limb. So here it should not be lower limb. So definitely this is not the answer. Absence of fine motor movements in the finger. No. Absence of ipsilateral arm proprioception. This is the right answer. So ipsilateral side proprioception, advanced sensation will be lost. Okay. Next, non-painful stimulus. In certain diseases, people become more sensitive. Even non-painful stimulus, okay, can cause exaggerated pain. Okay, this is called as allodynia. Okay. So what exactly is allodynia? Allodynia means it's a non-painful stimulus. The person is feeling it as painful. That is called as allodynia. Next, a female patient presented with slowly progressive motor weakness. Okay, the patient has slowly progressive motor weakness. There is a nuchal rigidity and difficulty in swallowing and carrying out day-to-day activities. Okay. So diagnosis of multiple sclerosis is suspected, is a preliminary diagnosis. Which of the following cells are affected in the multiple sclerosis? First of all, you should know what is the pathology of the multiple sclerosis. In multiple sclerosis, there is autoimmune. It's autoimmune disorder. It's autoimmune destruction of oligodendroglial cells. So the oligodendrocytes are getting damaged. Because of the damage to the oligodendrocytes, what happens? There is a demyelination. Okay, there is demyelination. So demyelination of central nervous system. The neurons in the central nervous system are getting demyelinated. Okay, so which cells are affected? Oligodendrocytes. Okay, oligodendrocytes. Now, some important points I want you to know here. The other options, microglial cells. What are the microglial cells? They are the phagocytes. They are the phagocytes in the central nervous system. And astrocytes. Astrocytes are the abundant glial cells. Okay, and what are these ependymal cells? Ependymal cells are the lining cells. Okay, lining cells of ventricles in which the cerebrospinal fluid is present. Okay, so ependymal cells, this is a question in the previous year exam. Ependymal cells are the lining cells for the ventricles and in the central canal of the spinal cord. Okay, central canal of the spinal cord. Next, Brown-Séquard syndrome is characterized by, see in this Brown-Séquard syndrome, what happens? I have already told you there is a hemisection of the spinal cord. If there is hemisection of the spinal cord, the dorsal column pathways are affected as well as the anterolateral pathways are affected. Because of the damage to the dorsal column pathways, the patient is going to lose the advanced sensations on the same side of the body and the patient is going to lose the primitive sensations on the opposite side of the body or the contralateral side of the body. So, what happens in Brown-Séquard syndrome? Fine touch is lost on opposite side? No. Fine touch is an advanced sensation. It is lost on the same side. Pain and temperature lost on the same side? No. Pain and temperature should be lost on the opposite side. It's a primitive sensation. Pain and temperature loss on the opposite side. Yes, this is a true statement. Okay. So, this is the correct answer. Next. A statement regarding the nerve action potential curve. See, this is from the nerve physiology. Now, here it's very clearly shown that this is the action potential of a neuron. Okay, action potential of a neuron, resting condition, threshold, depolarization, repolarization and hyperpolarization. Now, what are they talking about? Threshold is at point A. For example, here, this is the point A which was given. Is that the threshold? No, it is the resting membrane potential, minus 70 millivolts. It's the resting membrane potential of a neuron. Okay, so this is wrong. At point E, nerve is more excitable. At the point E, see this area, the nerve is hyperpolarized. The part of the nerve is hyperpolarized. So nerve is not hyperexcitable, not hyperexcitable. Okay, you have to give more stimulus actually. You have to give more stimulus to make the excitation. So this is the false statement because E is hyperpolarized state. Not easily excitable. You have to give more stimulus. Actually, the nerve is in relative refractory period. Actually, you have to give more stimulus to make the nerve excitable. Point number C to D is due to opening of sodium channels and closing of potassium channels. Where is C? C to D. So, very clear, this is the phase of repolarization. Now, this is a wrong statement because during repolarization, there is opening of potassium channels and closing of sodium channels. Okay, the inactivation gate of the voltage gated sodium channel is going to close during repolarization and the potassium channels open, leading to efflux of potassium. Okay, point number B to D is a refractory period. This is correct. So starting from the depolarization, okay, point number B to D, that is starting from the depolarization and ending of the repolarization. Actually, even it happens before the repolarization, but anyway. So this period, during this period, let's say from here to here, this is called as absolute repolarization. Whatever you do, how much ever stimulus you give, okay, whatever the stimulus you give, no new action potential is produced because the nerve is now absolute refractory for the new stimulus, for the production of new action potentials. It is called as absolute refractory period because the inactivation gate of the sodium channel is closed. Without sodium influx, you cannot produce one more action potential. Okay. So this is the true statement. So point number B to D, it is a refractory period, that to absolute refractory period. Okay. Now reward center in your brain. What is the reward center? Okay, reward center, pleasure center, I have told you, it's a ventral tegmental area. Ventral tegmental area is the reward center. Okay. Stimulus above the threshold intensity, okay, you are giving stimulus above the threshold intensity, leads to constant amplitude of action potential generation. Okay, see, now you are taking one neuron, you are giving the stimulus one time, action potential produced, second time, action potential produced, third time, action potential produced, 3 action potentials are produced. But first time you gave more stimulus than threshold, second time you gave a little bit more stimulus, third time you gave a little bit more stimulus. You are increasing the stimulus, but look, the height of the action potentials. Okay, first you gave little stimulus, more stimulus, even more stimulus beyond the threshold, means after threshold. But the height of the action potential is going to be constant. The action potential height, the amplitude is not going to increase with the amount of stimulus. This is called as all or none. Okay, all or none principle. Okay, it is explained by all or none principle. Okay, you know what is Bell-Magendie's law? Bell-Magendie's law is dorsal roots are sensory, ventral roots are motor. You know what is law of projection? Anywhere in the sensory pathway, if you stimulate, the person is going to perceive the sensations from the level of receptors, that is called as law of projection. And you know what is refractory law? During refractory period, okay, during refractory period, whatever the stimulus you give, no new action potential is produced. Okay. Next, which part of the thalamus is related to the motor control? I have told you, thalamus is a sensory gateway. Okay, it's called as a relay center. But certain nucleus of the thalamus will also do the motor activities. Which nucleus? Ventrolateral nucleus of the thalamus does the motor functions. Okay, that also I want you to know. A 65-year-old man, okay, suffered from stroke. He had a stroke 2 days ago. He now presents with involuntary violent flinging movements. It's a keyword. I have told you, whenever you see the word flinging movements, not flicking, flinging movements of the limbs on one side of the body, that is called as a hemibalismus. You know, hemibalismus is going to be seen whenever there is damage to subthalamic nucleus. So there is damage to subthalamic nucleus. Damage to the globus pallidus is going to cause what? Globus pallidus damage is going to cause athetosis. Caudate nucleus damage is going to cause what? Caudate nucleus or striatum damage is going to cause chorea. Okay, chorea is a flicking movement. Athetosis is a writhing movement. Now this subthalamic nucleus damage is going to cause hemibalismus. Okay, hemibalismus is a flinging movement, wild flinging movements. Okay, so these are the points which I want you to know. Next, vomiting center. Okay, vomiting center. See, where is it present? Vomiting center is present in an area called as area postrema. Okay, in an area called as area postrema, you have this vomiting center. The important point about this area postrema is it's not covered with, okay, or it's outside the blood-brain barrier. Okay, let me write it something like this. It's outside the blood-brain barrier. It's outside the blood-brain barrier. It's not covered by the blood-brain barrier. So there are certain areas which are called as the circumventricular organs. Okay, these circumventricular organs means these areas are outside the blood-brain barrier. They are not covered by this blood-brain barrier. These tight junctions, the endothelial cells and the tight junctions are not going to be there here. They are outside the blood-brain barrier. So what are those four areas? Posterior pituitary, area postrema, organum vasculosum and subfornical organ. Okay, so organum vasculosum, subfornical organ, area postrema and posterior pituitary, important MCQ. These areas are outside the blood-brain barrier, so they are called as the circumventricular organs. Okay, area postrema is your vomiting center. Okay, in the area postrema there is vomiting center. Okay, and this organum vasculosum and subfornical organ, they are your osmoreceptors. In these areas there are osmoreceptors present. Okay, osmoreceptors present. They check the blood osmolarity. Okay, the plasma osmolarity. Next, in a patient, the hypothalamic thermostat. Okay, you know hypothalamus, it's going to maintain your body temperature, it's going to regulate your body temperature. So now what we are doing is, we are changing the temperature set point. Normally our temperature set point is how much? Our temperature set point is 37 degrees. Okay, something like that. Okay, 37 degrees, the value is 37 degrees there. Now what I have done, I have increased this value from 37 degrees to maybe 40 degrees. So here in the hypothalamic thermostat, the temperature set point was increased. Okay, imagine you have increased it. Okay, now I am changing it to 40 degrees. Now what happens? If the temperature set point is more means, immediately, I shouldn't say not immediately, with the time, your body temperature will also increase. Okay, your body temperature, the basal body temperature is also going to increase. Okay, so see, first you increased the temperature set point. With the time, okay, with the time, even your body temperature is rising. Look, it rises. So, by which mechanism it raises, you tell me? By which mechanism? You know, shivering and vasoconstriction. Okay, by shivering and vasoconstriction, you are going to produce the heat in your body. And when you decrease the temperature set point, okay, when you decrease the temperature set point, again your body temperature is also coming down. How your body temperature comes down? Is by vasodilation. Okay, vasodilation as well as, okay, vasodilation and sweating. Okay, so now in this question what they are asking is, which of the following happens in stage W when compared to stage Y? So when compared to stage Y, what is happening in the stage W? The temperature is increasing. How we are going to increase the temperature? By shivering and vasoconstriction. So it's a shivering happening. Okay, it's a shivering which is happening. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, even in this image it's very clear. See, your body temperature is rising, your body temperature rises. How? Vasoconstriction and shivering. Okay, and your body temperature is decreasing. See here, how it is decreasing? By vasodilation and sweating. Okay, next, which of the following has the least conduction velocity? This is from the nerve fibers. Which nerve fibers are having the least conduction velocity? It's the unmyelinated fibers. Those fibers which are having less axon diameter, those are the C fibers, you already know it. So, which of the following has the least conduction velocity? C fibers. Now the question is, where the C fibers are present? Where are the C fibers are present? They are present in the postganglionic. Okay, postganglionic autonomic fibers, postganglionic autonomic fibers. And you already know that C fibers will carry what? C fibers carry slow pain. Okay, slow pain and, okay, C fibers carry slow pain and warm temperature. Okay, so based on this now let's try to answer which of the following has least conduction velocity? Postganglionic sympathetic fibers, yes. Somatic motor fibers, that's the alpha motor neurons, they are having highest conduction velocity. Okay, A alpha fibers, they are having the highest conduction velocity. Okay, preganglionic autonomic fibers are B fibers, touch and pressure fibers are A beta fibers. Okay, so you once watch the neuron and nerve rapid revision, that part there I have explained you different types of nerve fibers, Erlanger-Grassy classification and Lloyd and Hunt numerical classification. There I have explained all the important MCQs. Okay. Next, say a person after sleeping. Okay, a person after sleeping with arm under his head. Okay, this is also from the neuron and nerve rapid revision. Okay, neuron and nerve physiology. Now imagine you are sleeping with your hand under your head. So what you are doing? You are applying pressure. Okay, you are putting pressure on your hand. Now when you put pressure on your hand, you tell me with pressure which nerve fibers are going to be first affected? A alpha fibers. A alpha fibers will be affected. So now look, a person after sleeping with arm under his head now experiences paralysis, means weakness. In the morning there is weakness, but there is no numbness. He can feel the sensations in the morning. Which of the following is the best explanation for this? Best explanation is simple. A fibers are first affected. A alpha fibers are affected when compared to the C fibers. C fibers carries the sensations. Okay, slow pain. A fibers are more sensitive to pressure changes than B than C. Okay, so that is the answer. So this is the classification. Okay, Erlanger-Grassy classification and numerical classification. According to them, the nerve fibers are classified into A, B and C. Okay, I have explained this already. Now look, the same question which was asked in a little different way. A man falls into the deep sleep with one arm under his head. He finds he is not able to move his arm. Means again paralysis. Whenever there is paralysis, which fibers are affected? A fibers are affected. A fibers are more sensitive to pressure than C fibers. Simple. Okay, hand under your head, A fibers are damaged. That too A alpha fibers are damaged. Okay. Next, a 13-year-old boy presents with involuntary dancing movements. Okay, 13-year-old boy presenting with involuntary dancing movements of his right hand. He was diagnosed with rheumatic fever. In rheumatic fever, the patient is going to have what? A Synaptic chorea. Okay, rheumatic fever, Jones criteria, there will be chorea. Right? So now tell me, chorea is what kind of movement? Chorea, it's a writhing movements. Chorea is due to damage to caudate nucleus. Okay, so what is damaged? There is damage to caudate nucleus and putamen. Okay, caudate nucleus and putamen, because caudate nucleus and putamen together called as striatum. Striatal damage is going to cause chorea, Synaptic chorea in rheumatic fever. So with this, we have also completed the pre-IQ questions from the central nervous system. Hope the video is going to be helpful for your exams. Thank you.